welcome. Everything working? I think everything is working. I suspect. I'm just checking to make sure. Today is the day I put my cat down. It was easier when there was another day. But we're all out of days now. So I'm going to have to leave early today. Actually, I have to step out to give him his gabapentin, his medicine to keep him calm for when we transport him to the vet. Fallen Gemini, I appreciate that. Not gonna be fun. But that's not why people came. Let's talk about some stuff. Let's see here. There was a video I had pulled up. Listen to this TTS quality. Shit. Oh my god, dude, this computer. Okay, listen to this TTS quality. It's pretty impressive, I think.
The man was taken to a nearby hospital where he had 5 stitches put in his chin. He did not suffer a concussion, but has 2 severe black eyes, Sherwin said. According to Sherwin, his son was in the front yard checking whether the grass was dry enough to mow.
I think that's pretty good quality. That's a hard thing to do, yeah. Thanks. Not fun. Not fun at all. All right, this is the one I wanted to watch. Let me see if I can find it on my...
You're not gonna...
Yeah, here we go. James Fishback. Okay. Let me find some really good Fishback stuff. So I give you guys some context for him.
We have a lot to...
Why is he not answering?
You're not gonna shoot drugs.
The one that I have...
Why is he not...
This one's pretty bad. How long? 36 seconds? Okay. This is James Fishback. He's running for Florida governor. He's not going to win. But he's a Nick Fuentes follower or whatever. He's the neo-Nazi pick, basically. Full-blown Hitler-loving neo-Nazi pick. So, you know, people are kind of following his campaign because, holy shit, that's disturbing. But he gave this campaign speech. I wanted to give it a listen and see what he had to say. First, listen to who he is. This should give you an idea.
Why is he not answering the question, bro?
I'm happy to answer the question, dude.
Did you smash? Was it missionary? Back shots? What was it?
Listen, I don't want you ever speaking about women in our state like that ever again.
I mean, I don't want you ever smashing girls, teenage girls, in our state ever again.
Because he was... I'm sorry, I should give some context for this first. He was accused of sleeping with underage girls, like 16-year-olds, I understand. Not ideal. I mean, Fishback was. I'm not sure if it's true, but that's the accusation. And this guy is trying to make the point, like, you know, you took advantage of young girls. What is wrong with you? And Fishback does not react well.
So, promise me, never smash a minor again?
Why haven't I been arrested?
I don't know.
Why haven't I been arrested?
I don't know.
You should
Why
be
hasn't
lynched.
Trump been...
You should be lynched.
I should be
about me like
lynched?
that.
I should be lynched?
Yes, you should be
Yo,
lynched for lying about me like
lynch
that.
all pedophiles.
I agree. I will lynch every single Epstein criminal in this country.
Holy shit. That interaction, though. What the fuck? Absolutely fucking wild from beginning to end. So that's James Fishback. That's who the dude is. That's what he does. That's what he says. Now you know. And now you know why I'm so disturbed by the fact that he's as far along in the primaries or in the gubernatorial race as he is. Like, really, really disturbing shit.
Yourself tonight. Throw yourself tonight.
All right, so let's listen to his speech here real fast.
You're not going to shoot drugs up on our streets. Don't think of the homeless crisis as a political crisis, as one that requires a detailed, nuanced policy solution. Think of it if your own brother or sister were living on the street, shooting harmful, addictive poison into their arm.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I appreciate his framing here. It is important for people to personalize what's happening with the drug epidemic, especially as somebody who experienced the drug epidemic firsthand. I was an addict for a while, for a couple of years. Not good. This is before fentanyl was really popular. It existed, but yeah.
With a dirty needle, sleeping under a park bench in their own urine. We wouldn't look to them and say, do you want a free tent? Do you want some needles? Do you want to keep doing this? Tell me.
Okay, interesting. No, you know what I would say to my brother who's experiencing that? I would look at the data to find out what would most effectively help my brother. And here's the fact of the matter. Giving out needles in a needle exchange program where you trade them dirty ones for clean ones lowers the likelihood that somebody is going to die from hepatitis C or HIV or any of the needle-borne illnesses that exist. If you have a needle exchange program, which he was just talking shit about, it is more likely to save more lives. And the fact is, if you can save their life for long enough to convince them to get better, to get out of the drug use, they may just survive it. They may make it out the other side. Now, what are you supposed to do with somebody who's homeless? Like, he's talking shit about giving them a tent. Why would helping them in any way be bad? Like, what is his goal? What does he think the ideal would be then? What should we be doing for homeless people? Just like nothing? Just let them die out there? Like, I don't understand.
I can help. No, we would take them off the street so they get the care that they need.
Okay. So what are you advocating for then here?
And we get the safety that we deserve. On day one as governor, I will declare a state of emergency for the homelessness crisis. I will activate 10,000 National Guardsmen.
Again, he has no chance of winning. It's not happening. But he's a neo-Nazi, and that's concerning.
And I will remove every illegal homeless encampment from the streets of Florida.
He says he'll remove every homeless encampment. Okay, you shouldn't be doing that. We're not trying to remove homeless encampments. We're trying to fix the problem so that they don't have to exist anymore, right? Removing the encampments does nothing for anybody, right? Are we on the same page? Those homeless people are still going to be homeless. So what's the plan? He said get them off the street. Does he mean literally just ban them from being on the street? Is that what he means when he says that? I don't understand.
Before the sun sets on our first day together, we are going to look at any law, and I mean any law that's on the books that in any way, shape, or form violates the Constitution. And we're going to nullify it.
You think the Supreme Court hasn't fucking done that already, and you can't nullify laws, dipshit? You don't have that power. And power is actually given to you by the people Primarily, I guess you could say by like Congress and the judiciary, you know, the Supreme Court of Florida. They determine if what you're doing is illegal, and you have to follow those rules. And if you don't, people just are not going to cooperate with you.
Because Marbury v. Madison, the landmark Supreme Court case in the early 1800s, made clear that any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void.
No, that's not what Marbury v. Madison said.
And here we honor the Constitution.
No, Marbury v. Madison. I actually took a political science class in college long and long ago. And they told this story. Here's what happened. Marbury versus Madison is actually what it is. Was a case where James Madison, as he was on his way out the door, he was the second president, right? No, that was John Adams. Who was the third? Jefferson? Wait. Was he the fourth? Yes, he was the fourth. Okay. Right. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison didn't really like each other very much, or they were just from different political parties. So they wanted to stick it in the craw of the other, basically. Thomas Jefferson was the third president, and he chose a bunch of judges on his way out the door, and he left the letters on the desk for James Madison to mail. Because he was like, yeah, take this, dipshit. You have to mail my appointments. And James Madison was like, you know what? I'm just not going to. I'm just not going to mail those letters. One of the judges who was appointed by Thomas Jefferson was named Marbury. And so he sued James Madison with the writ of mandamus, is what it was called. And it basically means an officer of the government has to act. Like, somebody is refusing to pay you, you can give them the writ of mandamus or whatever, and if you sue them under the writ of mandamus, then they have to pay you or whatever. They have to give you the letters. They have to move forward with the thing that the government expects them to do as an officer of the court or whatever. That's what the writ of mandamus is. Marbury, I think the case settled in Marbury's favor, so he could become a judge, but it didn't settle until he was, like, dead, basically. Or until he was, like, way too old to actually take the bench. So anyway, that's what the writ of mandamus is. What the fuck is this guy talking about? One more time?
1800s made clear that any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. And here we honor the Constitution.
No, that has nothing to do with the writ of mandamus. Literally nothing. They could not be less similar to each other.
Let's start with the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Are there any laws here in Florida that you think violate the First Amendment to the Constitution? Yeah! Interesting. You know there are, because a girl got arrested from Florida International University 2 months ago. I called her, I spoke with her. Gabriela Zaldana made a joke in a WhatsApp group chat about a certain Middle Eastern leader.
We talking Netanyahu? Yeah, like I said, he's a Nazi. I am very opposed to Israel and what they're doing. It is a genocide, what they're up to right now. against Palestinians, innocent fucking civilian Palestinians. But this guy is a Nazi, actually, so, yeah.
Bombing the building where she was going to take a test because she didn't want to take it. A joke in a group chat. Raquel Pacheco is a veteran of the National Guard. In Miami Beach, police officers banged on her door because the mayor had said that her post on Facebook was, quote, anti-Semitic.
That's true. That shit is happening right now, and it's disturbing as hell.
I want to be clear. There is no...
What the hell is with the audio in this? Is this original? Is this like a problem in the...
You're not going to...
Wait. We're at 329. Hold on. 2, 3. Here. Wait.
I want to be clear.
It is in the original. Damn. Okay.
Room for religious hatred in the state of Florida. Hatred against Jews should not be tolerated. Hatred against Muslims should not be tolerated. And hatred against the most persecuted group in history, Christians, will never be
Fucking please.
tolerated. We will end Christian, anti-Christian hate in the state of Florida.
Anti-Christian hate, bro. Come on. And by the way, how the fuck are you going to do that exactly? James Fishback? Again, there's free speech. People are allowed to say what the fuck they want. Now, there should be, you know, we should try to curb hateful rhetoric to the best of our ability, but wasn't he just bitching, just now, about people's First Amendment rights being infringed upon or whatever? So it's okay to infringe on people's First Amendment rights when it's your group, but not when it's other groups, is what you're saying?
I woke up yesterday to learn that I am apparently an anti-Semite.
He actually is. I don't like what Israel's doing. That is not the same as anti-Semitism. In fact, I think it's better for the Jewish community worldwide that people are like allowed to criticize Israel without being called anti-Semitic. That's not what this guy is doing. This guy is an actual Nazi.
And that's crazy because I have said time and again on this campaign trail that Jewish Floridians, like Christian Floridians, are deserving of the same respect, treatment, safety, and security as the rest of us. And to the Jews here in the state of Florida, we will protect you like we protect Christians and everyone else. But apparently, Combat Anti-Semitism said that I'm anti-Semitic, and I clicked the link.
Dude, I'd love to know why this video is all scratchy and skippy and terrible.
I said, what is it now? And it said, James Fishback makes anti-Semitic trope because he says that, quote, abortion is a Holocaust.
Okay, I haven't seen that, but for the record, it's not. And actually, like, people who say that, in all seriousness, know nothing about the Holocaust. Just vile. I wrote a book about this, God's People, Christian Nationalism in the Third Reich, and it hit #1 in Protestant history on Amazon. It's a pretty niche subcategory, but I think it's cool. Anyway, give it a read if you want to. owenmorgan.com/godspeople. This is vile, actually.
I'm sorry. It is, and it's worse than the other one.
Wow. It's worse than the other one. Now the actual anti-Semitism is starting to creep out, right? He can't pretend anymore. That shit is wild, dude. Abortion is worse than the literal Holocaust. What a wild thing to say. Right, Lord Fonzie says, sorry for the late reply. I was taking the dogs out. Who let the dogs out? Who?
Every life matters. Every life is conceived in the image of our Lord and Savior.
Fine. You know what? Whatever. But this is not a life in the sense that a 30-year-old woman who is being taken to a basement, stripped naked, beaten, and worse, and then brought to a crematorium and thrown in a fucking oven. It's not as bad as that. There are degrees of evil in killing people, right? And even if you do think abortion is killing a human, it's not. But even if you do think that, the Holocaust was worse. There is no fair comparison you can make here. There just fucking isn't.
Whether that life is 2 weeks old or 20 years old, it does not matter.
Yeah, except that life in abortions isn't 2 weeks old. It's negative 9 months old, okay? I have a 5-week-old baby right now. I don't refer to that baby as 10 months and 1 week, right? Because it was a grouping of cells before that.
70 million children have been murdered since Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided in 1973, and I am here to tell you that the correct number of abortions in Florida is 0, and let's get it done.
Okay, well, if that's really how you feel, then you're going to want to increase birth control use, right? You're going to want to increase safe sex education in schools if you really want to lower abortions, right? Because guess what? Since Roe v. Wade was nullified by the Supreme Court recently, abortions have gone up. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this fish. 1 second. I didn't even want this fucking fish. I wanted the bottle. 1 second, almost got him. I'm gonna get him. Come on, get it. There we go. So you should naturally want to do whatever it takes to lower that number, right? And lowering that number entails ending abstinence-only education in schools, quote-unquote education. But no, he doesn't want to do that because it's a political issue. It is purely a political issue. He doesn't give a fuck about abortions. He never did. It was always about how I can get my base whipped into a blood frenzy. And abortion is a great issue for that. They're chanting Fishback. What a terrible name, dude. Yeah, there are a lot of names that I think are really terrible, and then I always think to myself, I probably shouldn't say anything because I bet there's a Fishback in my audience, right? And if there is, your name's not that terrible. There are really, really terrible names out there. Like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna just destroy my reputation now by shitting on people's names. Like Muriel or Judd or Eustace. Oh, there gotta be worse names out there than those, right? Gretchen. No, Gretchen's not that bad. It could be worse. Ursula. That's pretty rough. Pearl? No, Pearl's not bad.
Because no mom should be turned away from pregnancy care because she doesn't have money. No mom should be told to abort her child because she can't afford child care.
Nobody is telling people to abort their child because they can't afford child care. That's not happening. Get fucking help.
Or baby food, or diapers.
So you want a national diapers program, national food program for like a formula program is what you're saying then? No, he doesn't. He doesn't want any of that shit. He doesn't intend to put any money into this at all. His goal is to demonize abortion. That's it. And to sound populist, like he gives a fuck about other people. That's all there is to it.
Even the cost of childbirth, which has never been higher in the history of our state. And no mom in the state of Florida should be expected to give birth on Friday and show back up to work on Monday. Hire me as governor, and together we will institute paid maternity leave for every working mom in Florida.
Like, all these things would be fantastic if he actually intended to do any of them. Like, these are left-wing positions. Why is he taking left-wing positions here?
I said it earlier, we are at a fork in the road. Now is a time for choosing. Old Florida, new Florida. Old Florida, new Florida. Old Florida is the path we're going down. We're bringing back citrus. We're going to fight for our cattle ranchers. We're going to stop data centers. We are going to destroy the FWC from destroying our water. We will end the spraying. We will ban geoengineering.
Oh boy, now he's getting into chemtrails. Like, most of that shit was fine. Yes, I like that. And then he slips in the absolutely psychotic stuff at the end.
So you mean you're going to prevent Mark Zuckerberg from becoming a trillionaire by building a data center that the rest of us are going to pay for? Look.
Wait. Are you against trillionaires? Well, welcome to the fucking club. Beatrice, yes. Oh my God, that's good. Beatrice. Jeffrey Epstein is a bad name too. I'm sorry to all the Jeffrey Epsteins out there. Know that you are in my heart.
As conservatives, we believe in prudence. We believe in accountability. We believe that if you want something, you pay for it. There are no free lunches. I'll say that to the welfare queens down at the DMV, but I'll also say it to Mark Zuckerberg and to Scam Altman. You're not going to build your data centers and make us pay for it.
I don't actually have a problem with data centers as long as they're not ruining a community, and as long as we taxpayers are not paying for them, obviously. I mean, data centers have existed for a long time, and every time you access Reddit or YouTube or whatever, you're using a data center. So, you know, we need data centers. That's just what it is. They shouldn't be ruining communities, obviously. That's my only issue with data centers.
With the electricity bills that are skyrocketing across this country. See, politics, as my favorite economist Thomas Sowell said.
Not Thomas Sowell. Was he even an economist? I feel like he was something else, wasn't he? No?
Politics is not about solutions. It's about trade-offs. We're never going to make everybody happy. Certainly not Randy Fine.
Okay, Randy Fine is a Jewish guy who is out of his fucking head. Just vile, some of the shit that he says and does. He says he wants to kill every Palestinian, like that kind of person, just evil. For no reason.
You know, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at the Republican Sunshine Showdown just 6 miles down the street. And within 24 hours,
I don't know what that is.
I was uninvited, and they give about 6 different excuses, but I'll sum it up with one. We're...
I don't know what... Somebody yelled something in the crowd? What'd they yell? Let me see if I can turn it up.
We're up with one. We
No Jews. He said no Jews, I think. Let me, one more time, just to be super extra fair and sure.
I'll sum it up with one.
He said no Jews.
We're...
See why people think that he's anti-Semitic? Because he says and does things like this. He laughs at these types of things. Because his audience wants this type of thing. And also because he's been plainly, openly anti-Semitic. In addition to all of that. But he can sit here and pretend he's not a neo-Nazi all he wants. He simply is.
We were uninvited, and they gave us 6 different reasons. But I'll sum it up with just one. They say we are a threat, and we absolutely are. Mark my words, I will burn down the Republican establishment as it stands.
Honestly, it's already burned down. The Republican establishment is completely fucked. After Donald Trump, it's done.
Because now is not a time to cower in the corner. Now is not a time to worry about political correctness. Now is not a time to be bothered by temerity. Now is a time for audacity. Now is a time to stand up and be warriors. Now is a time to channel the energy of our founding fathers in 1776. Channel the energy of President Reagan in 1980. Channel the energy of a Donald Trump coming down the escalator into 2016. Channel the energy of Ron DeSantis, the greatest governor in Florida history. Now is the time to take our state back.
So apparently he starts talking about the Second Amendment next, and then after that, wow, he talks about guns for almost the rest of it. Okay.
People often ask, principled. You're principled. People will say they're a principled conservative, a principled Republican. Great. Ask them where they draw their principles from. From the next trend on X to what some Facebook group is riling up about.
Let me guess, is it the Bible in your mind?
To a think tank in Washington, D.C. that thinks America is a free trade zone, not a nation. To think our citizens can be swapped out with foreigners to do the bidding of the largest companies in the world.
Okay, we're not swapping people out for foreigners. We need immigrants to come in to fill gaps. H-1B is probably what he's talking about. We need that as a country. It's extremely beneficial to us.
Where do you draw your principles from? I draw them from just two places. The United States Constitution
I bet.
and the holy gospel of Jesus Christ.
God, the virtue signaling is fucking painful. Oh, did he say Fishback is not Jewish? Is that what it was? That would make a little bit more sense, I suppose. I'm going to go grab my coffee real fast. It's already made, so I'm just going to put in. And we may actually move to Flashpoint or something. I don't know. We'll see. All right, I'll be back in a second. And actually, you know, now may be a fine time to give Kashmir his medicine. Because we're putting him down later, and I need him calm when I take him to the vet. I'll be right back.
Two most important commandments. We are told this in Matthew chapter 18. Love God and love your neighbor. We got a lot of work to do. Because our neighbors are hurting. Jobs are being shipped overseas, or worse yet, overseas is being shipped to us. An entire future generation is being told, you don't need to buy a home. Rent one. The year is 2030. You own nothing. You will be happy. No, I'll listen to the people of Davie and Dunedin before I listen to the idiot globalist communists in Davos. Larry Fink, get the hell out of Florida! President Reagan said it best, the 9 most dangerous words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I'm from the government, I'm here to help. I hear there was a shooting happened recently. Can I interest you in gun control? What do we say to that? No! What we have to do is make sure that we don't just view the Second Amendment as a recommendation, that we don't just view it as a suggestion, but that we take it literally. And I shall not be infringed. To a domestic violence victim in Broward County who needs to buy a gun to defend herself tonight, she is told by a government bureaucrat in Tallahassee to wait. But ma'am, I can't wait. But he might come. Wait. 3 days to be able to defend yourself. In Florida, we recognize that a right delayed is a right denied. We will look to our founding fathers, we will embolden the Second Amendment, and we will eliminate all waiting periods to buy a gun in the state of Florida. Well, what if a bad guy is really angry right now and wants to buy a gun tomorrow to hurt people? Yeah, that's why I support your right to buy a gun today and to shoot him dead. It is called Stand Your Ground. We believe in self-defense in the state of Florida.
I couldn't find Kashmir. I have to go back out in a bit. All right. I have to. We're putting him down today. All right. Let me find. Let me just. Live. Oh, Mike Lindell 2 days ago. Interesting. What's Lindell up to?
Find out, but we're winning.
Hold on.
The States of America.
All right.
Watching Flashpoint. Good.
All right, so 6:32. Let me just grab this video. This does have Lindell in it, I believe. 6:32. Set trim point to 6:32. Is there anything at the end I should trim? Oh, shit. I hit the wrong button. I did not mean to exit Fishback. Anyway, tell me what you think about Fishback. He's a complete scumbag, in my opinion. Let's see. So this one ends at 1. Wait.
He continues to build our nation. Thanks.
Yeah, this ends at 106.13. 106.13. Set trim. Process all. Clear completed. Awesome. All right, let's pull this up and watch it for a few minutes. This is a TV show called Flashpoint. It's like a Trump theology TV show. They love Trump on here. They'll do anything for the dude. It's bizarre. Anyway, they had Mike Lindell on. Mike My Pillow Lindell, a.k.a. Mike Pillow. Let's give this a listen, see what they have to say.
I'm Gene Bailey. You're watching Flashpoint. Lots to talk about in your world night. Thank you for joining us. Listen, if you miss any of the past programs, you need to go back on the YouTube page. Go back and check on what you missed. They're always hosted right there, so make sure you're there. Some of the other places don't always host, though.
They weren't allowed on YouTube for a while because they were spreading COVID disinformation and lies, like claiming that COVID was giving people tentacles and it was a synthetic parasite that hatched out of an egg and all kinds of shit. Anyway, they, YouTube decided that's not a deal breaker for them anymore, so they allowed him back on.
Make sure you go back to the YouTube page. All right, let me welcome the panel tonight. Bishop Wendell Hutchins, our friend Lance Wallnau, Rick Green, and the man himself, Mike Lindell. Welcome everybody to the program. Before I get into Mike's news, I want to talk about Iran. So let's go to Caroline Levitt. She gives the update, which I think she puts it in very succinct terms of where President Trump is with Iran. Watch.
Okay, this is actually an issue for Gene Bailey, the host here. Every single time he's on here, he's always talking about how Iran is like, or how we shouldn't be involved in the Iran war and stuff like that. It's actually really interesting to hear him talk shit about like how Donald Trump isn't doing anything productive and stuff like that.
Violence will be met with violence. As you mentioned, Brian, there were attacks on commercial vessels that the United States of America, directed by the president, responded to, and that will continue to happen, but we hope we don't see that. The president obviously wants to see the peace process play out, and the Iranians would be best to sign a good deal with the United States of America because the president has proven he's unafraid to use the might of our military. Look at Operation Midnight Hammer. Look at Operation Epic Fury. Either way, though, the United States of America wins. If the peace process plays, this MOU continues, gas prices will continue to tumble. We're seeing crude is lower than it was prior to the start of this excursion, as the president calls it. Or if
it's this excursion, this little trip, is that what, I mean, is that what he means when he says this little trip? We're going to an excursion to the forest. We're going on a little trip to the forest. Or did he mean incursion? Like an attempted takeover? I think that one matches a little more closely, but okay.
If Iran chooses to be a bad actor, they'll prove themselves to be the pariah of the Middle East. They've totally alienated themselves from their Gulf and Arab partners in the region.
That's fair. They have attacked every country that could have even, every country that could have been even perceived a little bit to be allies with the United States, Bahrain and others. They attacked all of them. So, yeah, they're not very popular at the moment because of that.
And the United States of America has the best and strongest military in the world. The president retains the right to use it.
And we still lost against Iran. What does that say about the U.S. exactly?
All right, so let me show you this. Here's what President Trump had to say about his upcoming meeting in Doha.
There'll be a meeting on that tomorrow in Doha, and they're going to Qatar. I think they've already left, or they're just about getting ready to leave. So we'll see how that goes. But we're doing very well on that front. But
didn't they only attack U.S. military bases in those countries? Yes, I believe so. But they still, launched bombs at them, and that's not fantastic. I can't imagine Bahrain is very happy with Iran at the moment.
The meeting in Doha is going to be perhaps important, perhaps not. We're going to find out. But we're winning militarily. It's almost won militarily, I would say.
Wait, didn't you say exactly that, like, months ago? I feel like he already said that we won militarily months ago.
And it's really very simple. It's the denuclearization of Iran. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
They weren't working toward one.
Agreed to that, in all fairness.
Okay, so Lance, I mean, since we were last on the air, we had missiles launched or drones launched, hit ships, we retaliated, and now suddenly we're going to sign a deal. I think we all know this deal, whatever sign's not going to last for a long time.
Damn, dude. Saying that, like, knowing that this is Trump's deal, I bet Lance Wallnau is not very happy with him right now over that.
But do you think President Trump's getting what he set out to get all along?
Well, he's got them in such a beaten up condition that it's so weird, right? Every now and then they want to demonstrate to the world that nobody's going to push them around. They're on parity with the United States. They're going to teach them. So they go,
well, I don't know about parity, but they just took the United States on, head on, full-blown invasion, and won. What does that say exactly about Iran and the United States?
Shoot their neighbor to the left, or shoot a Singapore, freight over here, Bahrain over here. It's so stupid. The targets they're hitting are indiscriminately, no logic to it. But they're
no, I don't think that's the case.
Demonstrating that they still have a say in what happens. And then Trump turns around and says, all right, there goes a bridge, and there goes about 5 or 6 other military targets. Is that you got it out of your system yet? And the headlines then read, Iran and U.S. exchange blows and are back at peace. So I think a lot of this is trying to establish a psychological storyline within Iran that they're still strong. And the way that they demonstrate that is to constantly defy what the United States wants. But every time they do, they get diminished a little bit further. That's what Trump knows, which is why he's saying maybe this will work, maybe not, or maybe they're going to try to do some more theatrics. But this isn't strategic. This is theatric.
All right, what do you think, Rick? Let me bring you in here.
Yeah, I think Lance nailed it. I think they're the only ones you could say today are even less logical and making sense, even less so than John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, because I'm sore about some of these Supreme Court decisions. But I think Lance nailed it.
Damn, he's taking a shot at the Supreme Court, who ruled their consciences and not in Trump's favor. Jesus Christ, dude.
It is. It's interior. It's what they're doing it to show some strength still at home. I love what she said though. We're going to answer violence with violence. I mean, what she's doing is she's staking out the ground. President Trump is going to continue to be a guy that you can't push around, and the Americans are not going to do the appeasement strategy where.
What fucking appeasement strategy? Why did we do this in the first place? Why are we over there? I don't understand. What is the point of all of this? Why are we in a war with Iran? This is driving me fucking crazy, dude.
If you fire at some ships, we're just going to beg and plead and ask you not to do that anymore. We're going to respond in kind, but more so, always with overwhelming force and more than what you hit us with. And so, unfortunately, he's got to continue to do that. But to your main question, I mean, he's somehow threading the needle here, as only Donald Trump could, that we're still in hostility. They're still firing back and forth, and yet oil continues to go down. So, I mean, leave it to
Oil continues to go down despite hostilities. Fucking please, dude. These people really do live in a Trump delusion. They will do anything for this guy. They will lie, they will cheat, manipulate, steal, whatever. If it helps this dude's poll numbers even a little bit. It's so embarrassing.
Donald Trump to figure that one out.
Yeah, okay, Bishop Hutchins, what do you think?
Well, I think Lance and Rick both nailed it. The illogic behavior.
Who the fuck is this guy? I've never seen him before. Senior pastor, Church of Champions. Okay.
Of this group is the result of them trying to control three fronts, and so they're doing much of this posturing and this theatrical warfare for the benefit of trying to keep control of the people. Once the people find out how diminished they are, then our hope and everyone else's prayer is that they will rise up.
Oh, please, dude. The Iranians are going to rise up, he says. Please. Really? You don't really think that's going to happen, do you? These people are jokes, bro.
Our GC knows that, so they're trying to control. They're also trying to inflict as much
This is a lie told by Netanyahu. Okay, Netanyahu claimed to Donald Trump that all we had to do was destroy certain areas of their infrastructure, and once we did, the people are going to rise up because they don't want to be a part of this anymore either. They don't like the Iranian government either. And that's why Donald Trump came out there after attacking, like after the first volley of attacks, and said, all right, Iranian people, rise up. It was like painfully embarrassing.
Impair the traffic and inflict as much damage as possible to have some bartering at the table of negotiation for their neighbors.
It's going to be fun to watch. I don't think it's over yet. I hope I'm
fun to watch. Bunch of people dying. Yes, so fun.
Wrong, but I don't think it's over yet. All right, let's move along. Mike Lindell, look at what is in the news. Dominion settles a $1.3 billion lawsuit against Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Look at that smile on Mike's face. Mike was
okay. I didn't hear about this. Wait a minute. Give me a second here. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. We are at 13 minutes. Hold on one second. Let me just pull it up here. 13. Here it is.
Dale, look at what is in the news. Dominion settles a $1.3 billion lawsuit.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find info on this real fast. Settle billion. Let me see if I can find some info here. Hang on. Okay, so Dominion, the company formerly known as Dominion, sold in October 25 to a former Republican election official and renamed Liberty Vote, agreed to a confidential settlement, and dropped its defamation suit against Lindell and MyPillow, filed in federal court the week of June 24th. I see. So a Republican purchased Dominion and then dropped the Lindell lawsuit. Wow. So Mike Lindell was saved by some corrupt shithead Republican who purchased the company. Fantastic. All right, let's continue here. Hold on.
Against Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Look at that smile on Mike's face. Mike, was this a surprise when this happened? Tell us about it.
Yeah, not really a surprise. Since last summer, they've been saying that they were going to drop this against MyPillow and myself.
Well, yeah, once they're purchased by a Republican, that makes complete sense.
One of the things for me is I got to be careful what I say here, but put it this way: I will never stop to get rid of these electronic voting machines in our country. I have said it, I'll say it right now. They all have to go. Go make blenders, do something, whatever you want to do, but don't make electronic voting machines for the United States. And
why? Hand counting is significantly less accurate than voting machines by a wide margin. It is far superior to use voting or vote counters or whatever. Why the fuck would anybody think that counting by hand is better? It takes longer and it's less accurate.
Surprise, I guess the timing was surprise. All of a sudden now, as we went through last summer all the way up to this last week, as they knew we were going to be dropping 800 pages in a report from my teams on the ground over the last 5 years of every piece of it.
Yeah, they knew they were going to get you. I'm sorry. Yeah, they knew you were going to get them. They knew that you were going to drop evidence on them. Had nothing to do with the fact that it was purchased by a Republican, what was it? A former Republican election official. Had nothing to do with that.
Evidence gathered in this country came through us as a hub of a wheel, so to speak. Everything
and then renamed to Liberty Vote.
Everything came through my teams. And Patrick Kolbeck put out for my Election Crime Bureau. It's on Lindell TV. We've also turned it into the government. And in fact, the president actually retweeted it, or retruthed it.
Wow, look at you getting retruthed by the president. How about that, huh?
Get that right. About 2 weeks ago, when he was on with a reporter and just pulled his microphone and walked off the thing saying, no, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. And right. So it's all this stuff would have came out during trial. And it's the reason originally way back 5.5 years ago, everybody, that I said, come on, Dominion, why don't you sue me?
And they did.
I've got all the evidence. And they did. It sat there it's been sitting there for 5.5 years, this fight. But I am very relieved because MyPillow, my employee-owned company, they don't have to deal with this anymore.
MyPillow is already fucked. They've been fucked for a while.
Hanging over their head of all the damage it's done to MyPillow, even though we're still standing.
You mean the damage you did to MyPillow? Yes, that damage. Dude, I have to cover this on my main channel later. Hold on.
Let's move along. Mike Lindell, look at what is in the news. Dominion.
Just a second. I'm going to grab this clip here.
Settles a $1.3 billion lawsuit against Mike Lindell. Look at that smile on Mike's face. Mike, was this a surprise when this happened? Tell us about it.
Yeah, not really a surprise. Since last summer, they've been letting me through.
Dell, look at what is in the news. Dominion settles a $1.3 news from Mike Lindell. Look at we went out today and pulled up some. So good news there for Mike. Or whether
Hold on.
But I don't have to worry about these electronic voting machines attacking us with lawfare.
Yeah, here's and you. Yeah,
Sorry, I'm just grabbing this. Okay. Mike Lindell addresses the fact that a Republican election official bought Dominion. Addresses the Dominion suit being dropped and ignores the fact that before it's dropped. All right. Now let me export that. I'm going to have to hit this soon. That is ridiculous, dude. They're so shameless. They will lie about fucking anything. Hold on.
And I can say maybe an 100% run for governor. I'm all in. Damage that's done to my to deal with this anymore, hanging over their head of all the damage that's done to my pillow, even though we're still standing and I can sit and be and now 100% run for governor. I'm all in. I have been all in.
Oh yeah, he's running for governor of Minnesota. Seriously, there's no way that's gonna happen. No way. What a quack hole, man! Right?
Wait, this isn't the right button. Hang on.
There we go. Yeah. What a hole.
But I have to worry about these electronic voting machine companies attacking us with lawfare.
Yeah, here's and you. I won't ask you to comment here, but the case was dismissed with prejudice means it's permanently closed and cannot be refiled. Huge win. Each side.
It wasn't a win. They dropped it. Corruptly. Are you fucking kidding me right now?
Pays their own legal fees.
They pay their own legal fees? Really? God, he really got lucky that somebody decided to buy the fucking company.
Huge win. Each side pays their own legal fees. The filing did not disclose why it was dismissed or whether any confidential settlement.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? Really?
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Filed in 2021. So good news there for Mike. But there's also more good news for Mike Lindell. Look at we went out today and pulled up some charts on the polling numbers for the Minnesota governor's race. And there you have it. KSTP Survey USA poll results show Mike leading a whopping 27%. Closest one is Lisa DeMuth at 22%. You say, what?
Okay, let's look this up. Let's find out. Hang on. 1 second. Okay, so this is the only poll that shows Mike Lindell leading. This is why you use poll aggregates instead of like normal poll results, because a single poll result is an anomaly. So is Mike Lindell leading among Republicans at the moment? I think in this one poll, yes, just barely. In the broader scheme of things over the whole race, no, not even close. Is he leading among general politicians, like Republicans or Democrats. No, not even close. The Mason-Dixon poll, June 8th to 10th, 800 likely voters. The Star Tribune CARE 11 Minnesota poll had Klobuchar over Lindell, 53% to 36%. Lindell polls the worst of the three Republicans against her. DeMuth loses by only 8. An Emerson College poll in February had a nearly identical Klobuchar over Lindell result, 53 to 31. The Real Clear Politics polling average currently shows Klobuchar plus 19. Lindell has the highest name recognition of the three Republicans, but by far the worst favorability, over 40% unfavorable versus about 20% unfavorable. And Minnesota hasn't elected a Republican to statewide office since 2006. He has no chance. Absolutely no chance of taking the governorship. He's living in a fantasy land, but we knew that about him already.
Well, Gene, that's one poll. You know, you can't really just base everything. So
that's correct. That is one poll.
I went and polled the Real Clear Politics poll, and guess what? Same thing.
Give me a second. Let me see if I can find this. Just give me 1 second.
Dale.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to pull the information here and find... Yeah, so first of all, this is the primary chart, not general. So it's a different set of data. Among Republicans, when was this from? This is from June. And this is an average. And there are only 2 polls feeding this average. So Gene Bailey is basically reading the same results. He went to this KSTP poll and saw Mike Lindell is leading by like this much in a Republican primary. Okay, we're not talking general election. He's leading by this much in one poll in the Republican primary. And then he says, I wanted more results, so I went to a polling aggregate. He's literally pulling the same results into this. This is just looking at the poll he just showed. It's the exact same thing. He's acting like he got a second result. Qualls, not Lindell, actually won the Republican endorsement at the convention. Lindell finished 3rd and was dropped in the 5th round. And even at his best, this is the primary. Okay, good luck in a general election. The way they lie like this is fucking wild, dude. They will lie about anything.
The Real Clear Politics poll.
No, this isn't a Real Clear Politics poll. It's a Real Clear Politics aggregate. It's an aggregate that took the results of the poll you already looked at.
And guess what? Same thing. Lindell by 5, Lindell by 2, Lindell by 1. All of these polls are saying the same thing, Mike. I know you...
No fucking shit they're saying the same thing. They're using the same data. My God, dude, these people will lie about fucking anything.
You can't take your foot off the gas here because 5 points or 2 points or 3 points is not enough to to rest on, but things sure seem to be accelerating.
Absolutely. Every poll with the people have been, for me, up to like...
No, in no way, shape, or form is that true at all, even a little bit.
Say up to 5 points. And we just had the convention was about, 3-4 weeks ago now.
At which you lost the endorsement of the party, yes. That's where you lost the endorsement of the party, at the convention, right. Are you going to mention that?
Now, and I didn't honor the GOP here in Minnesota. They said, if we want everybody that runs for governor, us 1,500 or 2,000 people, our delegates, whoever we pick, we want everybody to drop out. Well, I didn't do that, and then you just named Lisa Damath. She was the candidate they had already picked way last fall. Their establishment candidate to pre-picked, basically.
It was not a pre-pick. They voted on who would be the main person. Lindell is going to split the field. Does he not realize that? That's why they say you should all drop out, because you're going to split the field. Some Republicans are going to vote for you. Some are going to vote for the other person. I don't remember who it is. And you're going to destroy Republicans' chances at winning. Hey, far be it from me to prevent you or to try to stop you from doing that. Go ahead, go nuts.
And of course, then all the voting machines went bad up in Duluth, so to speak, suspiciously for 3 hours. Everybody's holding up signs. Mike was right. Mike was right.
Oh, fucking please, dude. He's ridiculous.
Right. And and then they asked me, they said, well, Mike, you can, why did you not honor the endorsement? And I said, well, because the people, I'm polling number one since last August, everybody.
That's not true. None of that is true. He polled number one in a single poll recently.
The people of Minnesota, we need change. We need a businessman to get out of this. There's no way. These, remember, and I always say this with like Lisa Damath, she's the Speaker of the House here for the last couple years. Well, all this billions and billions of dollars in fraud happened under her watch too. And they say, well, she knew about it, but she Democrat.
It wasn't billions and billions of dollars in fraud. I forget what it was, 100 million in fraud. And it was caught under her administration and fixed under her administration. Under Biden, under the current Democratic the current Democratic leadership in Minnesota, they found the fraud, the Feeding Our Future or whatever organization that was run by a white woman, but they claimed it was mostly Somali. I think it was mostly Somali who were running it. But anyway, the point is they found all of that under their leadership and prosecuted it under their leadership. And Nick Shirley comes along and just lies and makes shit up brazenly about stuff. There was no Somali daycare fraud.
Democrats blocked her. Well, you better have a big mouth. You better be hollering out, hey, we got problems here, huge problems. So I'm tired of stuff not getting done. And they asked me, well, Mike, what are you running? I go back to that movie, Armageddon, where they said to ask her dad, Bruce Willis, said, well, why are you doing it? He says, because I don't trust anyone else to do it right. Number one, I don't trust anyone else to be able to win. That's what I am as a marketer, to be able to raise enough money. I've raised all of them combined now. And
I don't think that's true. Let's find out. I'll find out.
To have a marketing plan to win, but yet to have all the solutions to our problems here, which I've been working on a parallel path. Plan on having my budget out within 3 weeks here and show the whole.
No, that's not true at all. He did not outraise any of them. Cash on hand as of May 31st. Demuth, 517,000. Qualls, 34,000. And Lindell has 12,000. So Lindell has the least cash of any of them by a wide margin. On money raised, Demuth is ahead. She's got the most cash plus an affiliated PAC, Restore Sanity, that spent over $1 million on ads for her, largely bankrolled by shipping billionaire Richard Uline of Uline. Never heard of it. That's nonsense. Klobuchar makes all three look like a rounding error, though. Apparently, she's raised over $7 million and has $3.8 million cash on hand, nearly 7 times the 3 Republicans combined, which is a total of $563,000. One of Lindell's biggest expenses this year was over $155,000 to rent Mar-a-Lago for a February fundraiser. And back in 2025, he spent over half the money he raised buying copies of his own autobiography. I forgot about that. He also testified under oath last summer that he was $10 million in debt. Holy fucking shit, dude. So when he says he's outraised all of them combined, that's just a flat out bald-faced lie. He's just lying. He's just making shit up completely. It's so wild to me how brazenly these people lie, how willing they are to make shit up like this.
Whole nation, show the whole world, here's what we're going to do to every single problem we have in Minnesota, because it's across a lot of other states too.
Lance, what do you think? It's good news for Mike. He's still got a road to go, but definitely going in his direction.
I knew the party. Listen, the party's fractured in Minnesota. We tried to work with them, and their infighting is terrible. So they're still stuck in. They're not a unified people.
They're literally trying to unify right now. And Mike Lindell said, "No, I'm not going to let you unify. I'm going to split the field and refuse to drop out." Whose fucking fault is it? You're sitting here listening to somebody tell you it is his fault, and then what? Blaming it on who exactly? Who is to blame here?
Church is unified. That's the good thing. The Christians are unified, but not the party. But isn't this the state that had Jesse Ventura was once? Am I got that right? That's Minnesota.
Yes, I believe so.
So this is a state.
Jesse Ventura was a libertarian, but he was actually fucking awesome in a lot of ways. I really liked that guy a lot. And didn't he die a while back? I feel like he did.
That has a history of colorful selections for a governor that are outside the typical. So it's not unusual for a populist candidate to rise who has the trust of the people.
Oh, yeah, because Mike Lindell has the trust of the people fully and completely, right? He's such a super trustworthy guy.
Mike is a lot like Donald Trump. Remember, he wouldn't take the pledge. When he ran, would you be willing to step out of the race if you don't get that? And he goes, no, I'm not going to sign any pledge whatsoever. I'm going to keep it to the end because we need the outsiders. The system is so broken. They know it in that state. I think they're going to give a chance to Mike. Even the undecideds will say he may be a little different, but you know what? At least he's the real deal.
He might be a little different. Damn, if somebody said some shit like that about me, I'd actually be offended. He might be a little different. Wow.
So I'll give him a shot.
Yeah. Rick, I mean, this is good news. Mike Lindell leading in so far.
Yeah.
No, he's not leading.
Yeah. No, man, I honestly, I said it 6 months ago. I think the only way you win states like Minnesota and Colorado, you got to have a Mike Lindell in Minnesota and a Victor Marks in Colorado. Lance just
These people know they're lying, right? Gene Bailey knows that he's lying. He knows he made that shit up about those poll results and everything. How do they live with themselves making shit up like that? I don't understand.
Described why you need those outsiders coming in that can attract a lot of the people that are tired of the political game and the gamesmanship, which is exactly what they try to do to Mike here with the convention, and have this handful of people select the nominee instead of letting it go to a vote of all the Republicans in Minnesota. So yeah, I'm super excited about this for Mike. I think there's a groundswell right now of people wanting somebody like a Trump at the state level, and I think we're going to see more of it. And man, best of luck to you, Mike. We're behind you, bro.
Yeah, we sure are. Mike, all right, I got to ask you my question here before we leave this race. You're governor. What are you going to do? There's so much corruption. Leering centers and everything else going on.
Okay, Leering Center was just a weird sign that was fucked up by the sign-making people, and nobody caught it. That was just a normal daycare. There was nothing wrong with that daycare. I mean, they were investigated upside down, backward, and forward, and there was no wrongdoing found. They were just, they just had a bad sign. That's it. This whole corruption arc is nonsense. The actual real corruption was dealt with under Biden. And now Trump is, of course, claiming credit for shit that he did not do, that his predecessor did.
On there with Tim Waltz and his company. So what are you going to do? How are you going to fix that, Mike?
Well, the one thing about Minnesota, we're like first, second, third in the nation for the highest corporate tax, highest income tax, third in regulation, frivolous regulations. But it all comes down to our biggest problem, which is our welfare programs. We have 24 major ones, and we have over 400 NGOs. And if you take the fraud out of the equation, you're still left with all this, we are Minnesota nice, and I have been looking at all these since December. This is what I do as a businessman. Let's look at each one. You want to get a good return on
He's really leaning into that businessman thing, huh?
your investment. Means you want to help people. If they're really set up to help people, show me how it's going to help them and dig in and make sure that you get not 90%, let's do 100%. This is stuff I worked on when I came out of my crack cocaine addiction and all my other addictions back in 2009. I spent the next 12 years and millions upon millions of dollars of setting up. Basically, it was a foundation where it was like a give, send, go, using private sector money to help all of these different things with the.
Wait, so I'm trying to understand. He's saying Lindell Recovery Network, quote unquote, was just like GoFundMe, where rich people would go on there and find people who needed help and they would just pay for stuff. Is that what he's saying? Didn't that already exist in the form of GoFundMe? Why would you create another version of GoFundMe? I don't understand.
Homeless, people in addiction. And this was an amazing platform that's been like a parked car. Now, I was the government wrapped around that, but we.
A parked car? What the fuck is parked car? I've never heard that term before in my entire life. A parked car?
All of these different things with the homeless, people in addiction. And this was an amazing platform that's been like a parked car.
A parked car. A parked car. I don't know what that is.
Now, I was the government wrapped around that, but we saved almost 40%. So can you imagine taking the fraud out of Minnesota, which is upwards of 20 billion?
No, it isn't. Oh my God, this number keeps getting fucking bigger. The fraud was like $100 million and it was dealt with under Biden. Then Trump comes out and says it's 9 billion. And then Lindell is like, well, we can inflate that just a little bit to 20 billion. It's like it's already been inflated like 16 times, okay? It was like 100 million or something. That's it.
And then you replace that with systems in there in place that you can save another 40%. We're going to go from worst to first in Minnesota in so many areas immediately. They said, well, Mike.
Well, Minnesota is not worst. You know who is worst? The places run by Republicans. Oklahoma, for example, I think it's the worst at the moment. Now, are you telling me you're going to do something that other Republicans don't do? Because so far, all I've heard is Republican ideas.
What are you going to do on day one? I'm doing all my due diligence now. I'm going to launch my budget in 3-4 weeks where I'm going to show the whole public what I'm going to be able to do. And then you just start the race all at once. That's why the president got so much done right away. He spent 4 years when I get in, not if I get in, and what am I going to do with it?
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt in mid-sentence. I have no other choice here. You're saying you have a budget that you'll be releasing any 5 minutes now? You're saying you're going to release a budget in 3 or 4 weeks? Is that what he said? 3 or 4 weeks, huh? And that's why Trump succeeded so gloriously, because he had a budget written out over the course of 4 years. Yeah, but he didn't. What about that healthcare plan? What happened to the healthcare plan, I wonder? 2 weeks away, right? And then he said he had concepts of a plan. Great. Concepts of a plan. Fantastic. Is that what you have too, Mike?
Every single thing. That's why so many executive orders and so many things were signed right away.
That was Project 2025. Do you have a massive Republican think tank behind you, Mike?
That's what I'm doing now. I'm over here campaigning, but I'm over here getting ready for when I do win, so we can secure everything we have in Minnesota and save this beautiful state that I live in.
And it is a beautiful state. Well, congratulations on the win. I know.
On the win? What win? He didn't win anything. What are you congratulating him for?
And it is a beautiful state. Well, congratulations on the win. I know now's the time more than ever to push harder and faster. How can people
My old high school nickname, Harder and Faster. No, I'm kidding.
Follow what you're doing, Mike?
Yeah, and you can help out. All we need is help. It's real simple. LindellGov.com. LindellGov.com. I just did a fundraiser in Texas. I said, you know what? If I don't get in, people are going to pour out of Minnesota and head for other states like Texas, and we might not send our best. So we
might not send our best. Right. Totally.
Help here. We are the Trojan horse for so many things, including what I'm going to do when I'm governor.
The Trojan horse? You're the Trojan horse for so many things? What was, he was probably thinking, the canary in the coal mine, right? Is that what you meant? You're the canary in the coal mine for so many things, not the Trojan horse. I'm wondering, does he know what a Trojan horse is? Or no? Probably not, right?
Ban Sharia law, but we need your help. I've got the campaign strategy down. It's LindellGov.com. Help us out and check out all my plans that are out there when we put my budget in place, because a lot of this stuff, especially the illegals, the illegal immigrants, that I have a plan that's going to work over the whole country, which I want to bring to the president.
Right. Okay. Well, you should already have that plan laid out then, right? Shouldn't you? How long have you been running for governor, Mike? Hasn't he been, quote unquote, running for governor for, like, I think I talked about this all the way back in February or March when he first announced this. So you're like 6 months in, or damn near it. Wait. Yeah, you're coming up on 6 months, and you're telling me you still don't have a fucking plan? Okay. Yeah, when no one ever accused him of being fully competent, I suppose, right?
That's great, Mike. Great. How is my pillow? And you don't have to get into details, but I mean, I know this getting rid of the this whole Dominion thing going away. That's clouds, off your back. But you guys have weathered so many things as a company, and you personally put so much. And I was telling people today about things that I know that you did that nobody knows. How a real patriot, and with your own money, and how you were really standing up, and of course the whole getting rid of the machines and all of that
with his own money. You know why? Because nobody fucking wanted him around. Nobody wanted to deal with him.
That was at your expense. So this has taken a big hit. But my pillow, it seems like you've come out the other side. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct, and it's a blessing. We couldn't have got through without without the grace of God. My pillow has been my platform.
Yeah, because God is looking out for my pillow. He really cares about it, you see.
For some, a much bigger purpose that everybody has seen. But my employee-owned company, these are employees that own that, and they have been attacked. My pillow is the most attacked company in history. There's no company even close, and that includes our own.
Such a fucking victim, dude.
Own government through Operation Arctic Frost, all this lawfare, and it was all because their CEO is out there exercising his right of free speech.
No, you know why my pillow was quote unquote attacked? Because he used his platform as the My Pillow salesman to tamper with elections, to lie about like election results, about election theft and all that shit. That's why.
And so they're still here, and we're actually going to be launching a new commercial, first one in probably 7-8 months coming up. And I'm going to be able to pull away from them now, and my son running it, and all the great people I have at My Pillow. You guys have been great supporting them. I'm going to throw right in there. Use promo code FLASH. We use with save free shipping on your entire order. That helps My Pillow. That's you guys have stood behind us, so I can go run for governor. And we're doing a big thing right now with our Made in America products, our Made in the USA, with our pillows and our beds and our mattress toppers and all of them on sale. I think 50% off our mattress. People don't realize that we make the best mattress in the country. All these products, free shipping right to your front door with that promo code FLASH. So, Gene, I can't thank you enough. The audience, and I go around Minnesota, and I hear more from people that watch Flashpoint than any of them going, we've always had your back in My Pillow, and we have your back, Mike. Keep going. And like I say, I couldn't have got this far, and it's when I prayed for grace, I'll tell you, God gave My Pillow a lot of grace and because I can't believe, it's hard to believe with all this stuff against them that even my employees that stood firm, and a lot of them are not political. 99% probably they're not even political.
Right.
Yeah, that's why they still work at My Pillow, right? Because they're not political. I got to tell you, man, if I worked at My Pillow and Mike Lindell started doing all the shit that he was doing, I would quit. I would find another pillow manufacturer to work for, honestly.
They're just hanging there because they knew it was the right thing.
That's right.
We love helping people, and that's one of the things that came up here in the Minnesota media. Do you know, when you go back before all this political stuff or all these, getting rid of voting machines, that's all they wanted to do was get to paper ballots and count it.
That is not all he wanted to do. He corruptly, that he was in the mix with Tina Peters. I don't know if you guys remember this. Tina Peters stole voter data. As county clerk, she used her position to steal voter data and gave it to Mike Lindell, and he disseminated it to everybody else.
What a terrible thing for somebody to say, right? Well, before you go back before that, as we talk about me running for governor, My Pillow was always there. If there was a hurricane, My Pillow put in millions of dollars. There was people in need. There was homeless. There was people in addiction.
Do you have any evidence of this? I will take literally anything.
We poured money out. At My Pillow, we have a 10% tithe rule that I put in about 15 years ago, because I said, if I never leave My Pillow, we're going to tithe 10% no matter what. And we've been doing that the last 5 years, even in spite of all these attacks, just praying that we would make it through another day and another day and another day. And here we are out the other side. And this is what makes me feel so good, that I see the smiles. I just had my birthday yesterday. All the employees came today. They were celebrating my birthday. I said, no, I'm celebrating you guys, that you stood by and you made it to this far where we're.
Wow, he's a fighter, right? He fights for the man. I mean, for the little guy, not for the man. He hates the man.
We're standing strong, and we're...
Dude, I have a fruit fly, and I don't know where it came from, and now I'm concerned that I'm going to have more fruit flies. Because they breed like rabbits, or like fruit flies. They drive me nuts.
This has always been a biblical battle of good and evil, of historical proportions, and God's winning. We're winning.
Amen. All right, before we let you go, Bishop, I'm going to ask you to pray for Mike. He's got a lot going on. Would you please pray for him?
Lord, we thank you for Mike. We thank you for the
Bro, you going to close your eyes?
Angelic army that is encamped round about him. And we thank you that this is a man who is righteous, and he has sown his life as a seed into the soil of this nation. and the future of our generations. We ask you now, Lord, to take the sacrifice of his treasury, his life, his fortune, and see that you bring a great victory through him. We pray for the power of the Spirit of God to keep him from all harm and rebuke every devourer that would come against him. We thank
every devourer that would come against him.
You for victory in Minnesota, and we thank you for using Mike Lindell to bring a new revival and an awakening to that great, great state of 10,000 lakes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Good.
Amen.
Mike, good to have you. We'll let you go, and make sure you come back. You're always welcome here on Flashpoint, brother.
That was fucking bizarre. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. What a wild fucking interview that was. Jesus Christ. It was just lie after lie after lie. I can't believe how brazen these people are, genuinely. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. All right, I'm going to go get some food. I'm going to give Kashmir his medicine. We have to take him to the vet to put him down today, and we got to knock him out. So we got to give him his medicine. But I'm going to let this play for a minute while I... Actually, let me find...
All right.
Thank all of you. Thank you, Gene. God bless.
Yeah, let me just put in a current position marker. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was at the end. Okay.
It is. It is. So get yours while they laugh.
You're going to allow another...
So, if you're...
Now, from the U.S. Supreme Court.
Keep ordering them. Made these coins. Not all news is good news, but...
Okay, so this is where it starts. This, I believe, is the section about... how the Supreme Court sided against Donald Trump, fascinatingly. So I'm going to let this play for a minute, and I will be back. All right?
So when they're gone, they're gone. Okay? All right. Supreme Court, I told you, I'm going to show you what happened today. Not all news is good news, but here it is.
Breaking news, U.S. Supreme Court, a decision is now in on a challenge led by Republicans to late arriving ballots in elections. Shannon Bream has the ruling. She's got the news and the headline now from the U.S. Supreme Court. Shannon.
All right, guys, this is not a win for Republicans who were challenging this. Mississippi has a state law which allows ballots to be counted, mail-in ballots after Election Day. If they come in, they're postmarked and meet the state requirements. But it is a 5-4 loss for Republicans, and an interesting cobbling together of who wrote on this. Justice Barrett wrote the opinion. Justice Roberts joined her along with Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson. So those 5 stuck together on this. The dissent comes from Justice Alito. Thomas Gorsuch and Kavanaugh join him. And essentially what the majority said is that these federal statutes setting Election Day don't prescribe, or they don't stand in conflict with states that want to say, okay, we have a procedure to count ballots after Election Day. Justice Alito, writing for the dissent, says today's decision is inconsistent with the terms of the Election Day statutes, contemporary election law principles, 2 centuries of historical practice, and the case law on the question presented. So if you're a state out there that counts ballots after Election Day based on your state law, that state law will stand.
All right, Rick, we'll take some of these items that they ruled on today. Let's talk about the mail-in ballots. They upheld Mississippi's law allowing absentee ballots postmarked by Election Day, but they can be accounted if they arrive within 5 business days. 2 questions. Why is this a bad thing? And why can't we just all get out to vote on time?
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, Gene, there were a lot of decisions released, some really good ones for Trump's executive power and being able to fire, some mixed ones on that as well. So it's not all bad. This one I think is bad because Amy Coney Barrett actually says in her opinion, this isn't about what the Constitution says. Well, yeah, it is about what the Constitution says. Sam Alito basically took him to task and of course delved into what state laws say as well. But bottom line is we're supposed to have an election day. And how do you know who wins that night if you're going to allow another 5 days? Now, she tried to muddy the water because of military ballots and overseas ballots and that sort of thing, but that's not really what this is about. This is about this blanket, give everybody a ballot to be able to mail in their ballot, even if they're not inconvenienced by being able to go vote the way that we're supposed to vote. So it muddies the water. It continues to make it easy to cheat. I mean, that's what it all boils down to is, do we want to have elections we can have faith in? And that's what Alito took her to task on in his dissent. He basically said, y'all are making it easier for people to cheat and making it harder for us to restore faith in the institutions. We've talked a lot about that here on the program, how important that is. So this is a major setback. I don't think it's the end of it. I think first of all, we have to continue to fight this at the state level, because what this was about was the federal law says election day. It's the states that are allowing for the ballots to come in some cases even beyond the 5 days. So we're just going to have to continue to fight it at the state level, potentially get something done through Congress. President Trump's still pushing for the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act would solve this, but you've got Thune and four recalcitrant Republicans that refuse to help save our elections.
Yeah, that's a whole show right there. Let me show you this: President Trump reacting to the presidential power expanded. Watch.
The Supreme Court just affirmed your right to fire the heads of independent agencies. Should we expect more firings as a result of this ruling?
I don't think so. It gives me the right, and not me, it gives a president the right to do what the president should have the right to do. And it's very interesting. It's a big ruling. It's been going on for almost 100 years. They've been working on this, and that it comes down at my term is a very great honor. But it bestows additional powers, or maybe the same power, on the president. The president has the right to do this, and that has to do with a lot of agencies all throughout the system. So it's considered, the biggest of the group. And I can understand that this has been going on for almost 100 years. They've been waiting for this decision.
All right, Lance, what do you think? Good news? It seems a little. I think a lot of people would probably at first think, whoa, maybe that sounds like a dictator that can just kind of make their decisions. But what do you say?
The deep state in Washington, I know, our audience knows, is a permanent bureaucracy. Trump comes in and they pray to God he's like a summer storm. He'll go out, and he keeps hanging around. They're just relieved he isn't flirting with a third term. The reality is we have a thin layer. It's like that thin red line at the top of these institutions. 90% of the bureaucracy underneath is Democrat, deep state, and uniparty. These cats are permanent bureaucracy people. So the president should be able, especially if it's someone coming in with a popular vote behind him, like Trump has, with a mandate from America, to go have the team he wants in office. Man, you think about what's really going on. We all know it. What he's trying to do is he's trying to get rid of these enemies that he's got. Remember his first term in 2016? He had the conspiracy was going on almost at a cabinet level, back and forth. What he's saying is, when you're president, you should have the ability to put the people in position that will advance the policies that people elected you to implement. You shouldn't be fighting the hidden hand of a hidden bureaucracy. The president needs all the support he can get. He's only got 4 years, and if the people love it, they'll give him another 4. Let him have the team he wants.
No, I think it's right. Good. Yes. All right, so tomorrow, big day. Yes. Tomorrow expected to be the final opinion day of this term. Now, here's what may come down. Here's what's up to be decided. Birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions. State bans. Here's a big one. State bans on transgender athletes competing in girls' sports. Like this should even be something that has to go to the Supreme Court. But, okay, they're going to do that. Campaign finance limits on coordinated party spending and several other cases. Let me get Bishop, what do you think? You think anything will happen, or will they just kind of pull the plug and go home?
Well, I hope so. I don't know. We've seen so much schizophrenic behavior out of this court, and we're all disappointed at some of the appointments that President Trump has made. But I think it's all the more reason why we have to get our grassroots engaged, get boots on the ground, chapters operating, and we take it to the local fight. Rick said earlier about the states. We have to go after the states and see reformation take place in the states. So only then can we put the heat on the federal legislature and address this Fourth Reich, which is a deep state that is an unelected bureaucrat that's standing between us and the will of the people being done.
That's correct.
Yes.
All right. This is why. Yes. Go ahead, Lance. Go ahead.
I just want to say something. Doesn't it seem to you that what happens in the politics of the conservative side of the court is they go, the left is always threatening that we need reform in the judiciary. We need to restack the court. So what they do, I think, I'm serious. I think they do this. They go, we can't keep ruling for Trump. We have to throw a couple, away to the left, or they're going to say that we're not fair and balanced. I'm telling you. The weak part on our team is the part that wants to be popular in Georgetown and in the cocktails and the coffee hour in the elite circles of Washington, D.C. They don't want to be labeled as Trump's judges. That offends their egos. So they literally screw up, I'm convinced, certain votes that Trump wants in order to show that they don't have to submit to Trump and they're independent. That's what I think it is.
Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, man, that's exactly what happened. And specifically with this thing about executive power, and Lance nailed it. Look, the president is elected to execute the laws. That's specifically in Article 2. That's his job. So all of these agencies are supposed to answer to him. And when the nation says this is the philosophy that we want, we're also hiring not just Trump, but 4,000 appointments of Trump or whoever gets elected. Biden gets elected, 4,000 appointments by auto pen. Whichever side wins, they get to run the government on the executive side of executing the laws. And so to not let him fire people that were there for the last administration or people that he appoints and then says, no, you're not doing a good job, I should be able to fire you. I've said this for years. The president of the United States should be able to hire and fire anyone in the executive branch from the very top, the secretaries, all the way down. And that's just the way it's supposed to work. And so, yeah, they split their decision. Basically, one of these cases, they said, yes, he can fire the FTC commissioner. And Roberts tried to dial it back. But I think the majority opinion is going to allow that to go, as Trump said in his interview there, to all of these other agencies. But then they did this other decision, Trump v. Cook, where they basically said he couldn't fire this Federal Reserve member. On a ridiculous reason, Roberts makes the argument that the Federal Reserve is independent and therefore the president should. Now, wait a minute. Show me the constitutional clause where the Federal Reserve is independent. You can't, because the Federal Reserve's not in the Constitution.
No.
We've created this thing and then said this monster has no accountability to anybody, not to Congress, not to the president. That is ridiculous, but that's Robert's position. The president should be able to hire and fire those members of the Fed. Listen, they set our interest rates. They set our monetary policy. Our monetary supply. They got to answer to somebody. Anyway, I'm going to get off too far on that one. But the good news is, I shouldn't just be lambasting him, because the Trump v. Slaughter case is huge. That is a big victory. Now President Trump can go hire and fire in a lot of these agencies, which he absolutely should be able to do. As Wendell said, they're like this fourth branch that doesn't answer to anybody. It's time for them to have to answer. So this is a big victory. And it was like 1935 when the previous case came down. So big change, positive things. We should accentuate the positive instead of me being negative about all the other cases. So this one's a big one to celebrate.
No, it just shows you, and it goes back to what Lance was saying. Perhaps this was, okay, we'll give you that, but we're going to take this one.
Right.
That's the 100%. Better of the options. The worst of the options is they're on the take somehow or corrupt. But I'm not calling them corrupt. I'm just saying, I don't know what I'm saying. There you go. All right. This is why it's so important we get involved in Flashpoint Army chapters. How'd you like that segue? Wendell, Bishop, give us an update on what's going on with the chapters, because I'm getting emails. You're getting emails. People are like, what am I doing? What's going on? Can you give us an update?
Yes, we are excited about new attributes that are appearing in the command center. So I think the number of calls that are coming in, most people are forgetting how to log in on their command center site. So once we get them past that, they're able to get back into the flow of their onboarding process. But we've refined it. We've just had some serious meetings with Rick and Nate, and we did that in Austin last week. So we were able to refine our process and we're able to show people when they enter into the command center, they can immediately see where they are. So it shows them their track, they're in training, they're on they're charted, and then once that training is complete, many people are saying, well, where is the test? They're taking the test throughout their training, and so when that last training set is done, they're going to be able to hear from a coach and be called by an onboarding specialist that will help them choose what their next operation is going to be, or what their first mission is going to be. So we're going to have a drop-down box. They'll see that when they take their final civics biblical citizenship course, and they'll be able to choose. Do they want to help erect a monument? Do they want to help Mike Lindell in Minnesota? Do they want to help create chaplaincy programs, which we're doing? So all of those things will be available to them, and they're going to have a great time getting plugged in and saving this nation from precinct to precinct.
Yeah, let me show you some of the new features here. I'm signed in as a member, which is kind of just a generic account. It says here, I need, right over here, complete my training. It says I haven't done my training. My coach meeting is pending. Information there. Oh, get equipped. Let's click on that. Leaders, welcome, your first assignment, the mission. Oh, there it is. There's that big, beautiful yellow button. Start biblical citizenship. So I'll take that. Look, there's Rick Green with Charlie Kirk and Rob McCoy about to give me lesson number 1. And so I click on that. This is what's so cool about it. Boom, there it is. Now it's launched. No more having to go download it. It's just right here in your portal. Rick, this is exciting stuff. Thank you for wanting to be a part.
Yeah, man, and Wendell's right. We're streamlining it, so you're going to have a real easy. You're in step 1. As soon as you finish this, you get to go to step 2. Here's what it'll be. Now you're step 2. Here's what you do. And then they'll get to choose once they get through with their kind of boot camp, if you will, going through those 8 biblical citizenship classes, which are pretty quick. They can do it all online. After they do that, they get to choose a mission. And it could be, as Wendell said, erecting a monument, doing 10 Commandments somewhere. I think everybody probably saw last week huge victories at the State Board of Education in Texas. We're now getting the Bible back in classrooms in Texas. So that's going to be a mission for any of our Flashpoint Army chapter members all across Texas. That's part of what you can do, is help get the Bible in your local school. We'll be coaching you on that. If you want to get involved in campaigns and help get godly people elected to local office, for Liberty and Justice will be helping you do that. So it's all about, just kind of remind everybody, it's all about whatever level of activity you want to be at, we're going to come alongside you and help you do that. Not everybody's going to be able to go do 20 hours a week of this. For most people, we're just saying, hey, give 1 or 2 hours a week in one of these activities, and you'll make a difference in your community. Other people are going to say, man, I want to head up a chapter, and I want to get a chapter started at my church, or I want to open up my home. We're going to give them options on that. And Wendell and I are working on streamlining the system so that a lot of it's automated, where they just kind of go through it. They don't have to wait to meet with anybody. It's real simple to just move towards those steps if they choose. But if they need some help, we're going to come alongside them.
So let me help everybody understand something here. We didn't buy off Patriot Academy or for Liberty or Justice, or we didn't absorb them, okay? This is us coming together. Everything with Patriot Academy continues the same way for Liberty and Justice, but we're able to get you to come together and then be deployed out to where you want to best fit and what matches your, maybe you need something to do from home. There are things that we can give you to do from home if you're not mobile, for instance. There's a myriad of things. One of the things that we are excited about that Bishop Hudgens just mentioned, and I'll give us an update a little bit more, is the whole fact that we are doing chaplain training. Talk about that. Now, there's a lot of chaplain training out there, Bishop. Is this just one of them, or is this one of the better ones?
No, sir. This is the only one. It's Rocky Malloy's group, and they are the only certified, credentialed, federally licensed chaplaincy program in America. So it's the finest and the best of the best. So we're excited about bringing them on board and making them part of our Flashpoint Army chapter network and a partner in this mission. So we're going to be able to enter into every school room. If we choose to work in schools, we can also access federal governmental buildings. We can access the Department of Defense. We can access Justice Department, federal prison system. There's just so many places, hospitals. If you had these credentials when in 2020, when everything took place and they were locking up so many hospitals and not giving access to ministers and ordained ministers, if you would have been credentialed by this program that we're bringing into Flashpoint, you would have been able to enter into that hospital. So a federally licensed chaplaincy program is a preeminent authority in the land, and it's been that way since the founding of our nation, and most people don't know that. So Rocky is going to be a part of this. We're onboarding his videos now, and he'll have a pillar there within the command center that you'll be able to watch. And I want to also point out too, Gene, is one of the things Rick and I worked on. So many people have said, hey, we want to be a part, but we've already taken biblical citizenship. We're already members of Patriot Academy. Below that class that you were showing there on that screen, at the very bottom is a place where if you've already taken biblical citizenship, you can click here and go straight to the drop-down menu that will be appearing. So we're making it available for people to bypass. They'll have to fill out a thing and just show that they've been credentialed and been had a certificate. And so we're making it as easy as possible for them to get engaged, and we're excited about the future.
We are too. It's great things. You know, one of the things that Flashpoint does, and you guys, we have been able to help so many people out. Mike Lindell was just on. You remember when we helped save Lindell Recovery Network? You guys did that. We rallied together and helped keep it open and help pay the bills to keep that going. You helped with Wi-Fi internet devices in Iran with Robbie Dawkins, and we spent about $100,000 right there to do. Well, you're also, this week, you didn't know this, but you are in South Africa. We partnered with Greystone Church to help do an outreach, and they're going to be sending us reports all this week. Here's the first one from today, Cape Town, South Africa. Here's Justin Wojak.
Thank you, Gene. In Flashpoint Army, we want to take you along this week what the Lord is doing down here in Cape Town, South Africa. But I got to be honest, before we even talk about Cape Town, we got to talk about the Great Commission. God has commanded us to go as we are going to make disciples. And so that leads me to Acts 1:8. How are we supposed to bring the Great Commission to life? Well, it starts in our Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. So our Jerusalem, that is our hometown. This is where we go to school. This is where we go to work, go to the ball fields, go to the gym. And so guys, are you representing Jesus? Are you allowing Jesus to overflow where you are currently at? And then Judea, Samaria, a little bit further out of your hometown, and then boom, to the ends of the earth. And so at Greystone Church, part of our vision is to assist the laborers in the harvest field all over the world. And so today, this week, we are doing that. We are doing what we call our sports camp, aka VBS, down here with this amazing community.
I'm back. I had to give Kashmir the medicine we're giving him. I had to say goodbye to two of mine, so incredibly hard. Nothing quite like it. Not much, but we were thinking of you and your family. Thank you. Yeah, I just had to give him the anxiety medicine just now. And it reminds me of why we can't try to save him. I mean, he has, as the doctor put it, weeks, maybe months. If we operate and remove the metastasized tumor and give him morphine through all of it and chemotherapy, and he's not going to put up with that. He's just not. He's not going to accept it. He's not going to accept, like, I just had to give him the gabapentin, the stuff to help him chill out, and his tail was puffed up like a fucking pineapple. You know, it was gigantic. Just from giving him anxiety medicine. I can't give him medicine every day consistently for the rest of his life, he won't accept it. And how long is that going to be? Weeks or months? He's going to be miserable. So the whole thing just fucking sucks. All of it really sucks. But I'm trying to, you know, distract myself, so. All right, let's get back to this while I eat. I am going to have to leave early so that I can put him down. Give me a second here. Where were we? This is 54 to 34. Yeah, so 20 minutes. Wow. Okay. So 34. Yeah. All right. Good. 34. Markers. Nope. This is where we were. Now let's go back to where we left off. All right. Here we go. This is a TV show called Flashpoint. It is a Trump theologist show. It's all about Trump and how great he is and everything. It's wild. Let's give this a listen.
So when they're gone, they're gone. Okay. All right. Supreme Court, I told you, I'm going to show you what happened today. Not all news is good news, but here it is.
Breaking news, U.S. Supreme Court, a decision is now in on a challenge led by Republicans to late arriving ballots in elections. Shannon Bream has the ruling. She's got the news and the headline now from the U.S. Supreme Court. Shannon.
All right, guys, this is not a win for Republicans who are challenging this. Mississippi has a state law which allows ballots to be counted, mail-in ballots after Election Day. If they come in, they're postmarked and meet the state requirements. But it is a 5-4 loss for Republicans, and an interesting cobbling together of who wrote on this. Justice Barrett wrote the opinion. Justice Roberts joined her along with Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson. So those 5 stuck together on this. The dissent comes from Justice Alito. Thomas Gorsuch and Kavanaugh join him. And essentially what the majority said is that these federal statutes setting Election Day don't prescribe, or they don't stand in conflict with states that want to say, OK, we have a procedure to count ballots after Election Day. Justice Alito, writing for the dissent, says today's decision is inconsistent with the terms of the Election Day statutes, contemporary election law principles, 2 centuries of historical practice, and the case law on the question presented. So if you're a state out.
Wait, are they saying that Supreme Court justices were unaware that their ruling violates the Constitution? Okay.
There that counts ballots after Election Day based on your state law, that state law will stand.
All right, Rick, we'll take some of these items that they ruled on today. Let's talk about the mail-in ballots.
So Rick Green is a lawyer. He's the second from the right here with the glasses. He's a lawyer, or a JD. He has a JD, which is like a law degree. Anyway, he believes in biblical citizenship, which basically means you have to pass a Bible test before you become a citizen of the United States. And he runs this whole biblical citizenship training course to teach people how to pass the biblical citizenship test. Absolutely insane, all of it. Anyway, he's absolutely out of his gourd. Let's see what he says here.
He upheld Mississippi's law allowing absentee ballots postmarked by Election Day, but they can be accounted if they arrive within 5 business days. 2 questions. Why is this a bad thing? And why can't we just all get out to vote on time?
Well, older people, like, you know, the people in your audience, can't always do it on time for one reason or another. That's just how it works, okay? And all of these little plans that you have to try to cripple the vote, to try to lower how many people are turning in ballots, are voter suppression, plain and simple.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, Gene, there were a lot of decisions released, some really good ones for Trump's executive power and being able to fire, some mixed ones on that as well. So it's not all bad. This one I think is bad because Amy Coney Barrett actually says in her opinion, this isn't about what the Constitution says. Well, yeah, it is about what the Constitution says. Sam Alito basically took him to task and of course delved into what state laws say as well. But bottom line is
Alito is out of his fucking mind. Drunk on Trump juice all the way. Will do anything for Donald Trump to a disturbing, bizarre degree. Really. I don't know what's wrong with Alito. Trump didn't even appoint him. And Clarence Thomas, they're out of their fucking minds.
Supposed to have an election day, and how do you know who wins that night if you're going to allow another 5 days? Now, she tried to muddy the water because of military ballots and overseas ballots and that sort of thing, but that's not really what this is about. This is about this blanket, give everybody a ballot to be able to mail in their ballot.
No, that's not what was happening. What are you fucking smoking?
Even if they're not inconvenienced by being able to go vote the way that we're supposed to.
Well, it does. No, we're not supposed to vote anyway. We're just supposed to vote. There is no way that we should be voting, and we're fucking up if we're not voting the way we should be voting. Fucking give it a rest. These people are such jokes, dude. If we can cast our ballots, let us cast our fucking ballots.
Vote. So it muddies the water. It continues to make it easy to cheat. I mean, that's what it all boils down to is, do we want to have elections we can have faith in? And that's
great. Then show me one example of somebody cheating through mail-in ballots. One example of it.
That's what Alito took her to task on in his dissent. He basically said, y'all are making it easier for people to cheat and making it harder for us to restore faith in the institutions. We've talked a lot about that here on the program, how important that is. So this is a major setback. I don't think it's the end of it. I think first of all, we have to continue to fight this at the state level, because what this was about was the federal law says election day. It's the states that are allowing for the ballots to come in some
Yeah, you know why? Because elections are run by states.
Cases even beyond the 5 days. So we're just going to have to continue to fight it at the state level, potentially get something done through Congress. President Trump's still pushing for the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act would solve this, but you've got Thune and four recalcitrant Republicans that refuse to help save our elections.
Yeah, that's a whole show right there. Let me show you this President Trump reacting to the presidential power expanded. Watch.
The Supreme Court just affirmed your right to fire the heads of independent agencies. Should we expect more firings as a result of this ruling?
I don't think so. It gives me the right, and not me, it gives a president the right to do what the president should have the right to do. And
hey, dumbass, that's what we were debating. Should a president be able to fire the heads of independent agencies, independent of the executive branch? Why the fuck would the president be allowed to do that?
It's very interesting. It's a big ruling. It's been going on for almost 100 years.
No. Your dumbass is the one that's been pushing it.
They've been working on this, and that it comes down at my term is a very great honor. But it bestows additional powers, or maybe the same power, on the president. The president has the right to do this, and that has to do with a lot of agencies all throughout the system. So it's considered, the biggest of the group. And I can understand that this has been going on for almost 100 years.
This is such complete nonsense.
Waiting for this decision.
All right, Lance, what do you think? Good news? Seems a little, I think a lot of people would probably at first think, whoa, maybe that sounds like a dictator that can just kind of make their decisions. But what do you say?
The deep state in Washington, I know, our audience knows, is a permanent bureaucracy. Trump comes in and they pray to God he's like a summer storm. He'll go out, and he keeps hanging around. They're just relieved he isn't flirting with a third term. The reality is we have a thin layer. It's like the thin red line at the top of these institutions. 90% of the bureaucracy underneath is Democrat, deep state, and uniparty.
For the record, Lance Wallnau is excited about this for a very specific reason. Let me show you. This is his explanation of what No, I'm sorry, not that one. This is his explanation of what Seven Mountains dominionism is. And now that Trump has the ability to fire basically the heads of anybody that he wants, this is the plan. I'm going to go turn my air conditioner on. 1 second.
3% of the population, roughly 3 to 4% of the population, are radical leftist elites. 30% of the population are evangelical born-again Christians that are inclined to go towards Pentecostal language. I mean, we're really out there. 30% against 3%, but they neutralize the church because they're also in religion. They've changed the definition of marriage, so they've taken over family. They've totally taken over academia, so the education institutions are teaching leftist theology or leftist ideology and silencing conservatives. They're controlling government right now. They've taken over legacy media, Hollywood, entertainment, and arts, and now they've got Wall Street. This is 3%. 30% of the population is Christian. How is it that 30% are dominated by 3%? They have a worldview for bringing their kingdom here now. We're told to pray thy kingdom come, but we put it off to the second coming. There it is. We put it off. They are organized, and we are not.
Complete nonsense. Like, the left is organized? What? The left is fighting against Republicans who are not organized? Christian nationalists are not organized? He cannot genuinely believe this. I refuse to accept that he genuinely believes any of this. But this is the plan laid out to take over the United States on behalf of right-wing extremists, on behalf of Christian nationalists specifically. So now that Trump can fire the heads of any agency he wants, you're connecting the dots here, right? Lance Wallnau, who prays with Trump regularly, can now get anybody he wants in those positions. Anybody the Christian nationalists want in those positions to execute Plan 7 Mountains mandate, which he's describing here.
So, God says, I'm going to send you a revival. And we're praying for revival. And as we pray for revival, we think, well, watch what happens. That 30 will become 50%. It doesn't matter, because the guards in the prison control what goes on with the inmates. You could have 75%. And if they control those high places, you still are in suppression, because that's the story of history. So it's not just in having more. We certainly want souls. In eternity, that's the most important thing. And this is, Mario, where a lot of people get confused. Is it the kingdom more important? Is Jesus more important? Isn't souls more important? Of course, this isn't either or. It's both and. We want souls and we want nations. Jesus was promised nations for his inheritance, not just churches.
So he just described how he intends to take over the United States for Christian nationalism. And the Supreme Court keeps handing them wins.
These cats are permanent bureaucracy people. So the president should be able, especially if it's someone coming in with a popular vote behind him, like Trump has, with a mandate from America, to go have the team he wants in office. Man, you think about what's really going on. We all know it. What he's trying to do is he's trying to get rid of these enemies that he's got. Remember his first term in 2016? He had the conspiracy was going on right almost at a cabinet level, back and forth. What he's saying is, when you're president, you should have the ability to put the people in position that will advance the policies that people elected you to implement.
Yeah, except some agencies in the U.S. government are independent. For example, the Federal Reserve is independent of the executive branch. It's an independent agency. And I know, like, it doesn't really make sense to a lot of people why it would even matter, but the Federal Reserve, for example, is independent because it has to be independent of the U.S. government to have an economy like ours function. To be the world reserve currency, basically, the Federal Reserve, who prints and manages our money, must be completely separate from the president and the president's whims. The world has to trust that this stuff isn't going to be pushed through or changed or manipulated or whatever on behalf of the president, of the U.S. president. That is why the Federal Reserve must be independent. Nobody will trust the U.S. dollar if the president is allowed to meddle with it, basically.
You shouldn't be fighting the hidden hand of a hidden bureaucracy. The president needs all the support he can get. He's only got 4 years, and if the people love it, they'll give him another 4. Let him have the team he wants.
No, I think it's right. Good.
Wait, if the people love it, they'll give him another 4? Is he saying Trump is going for a third term? I don't understand what he's saying, if not exactly that.
Yes. All right, so tomorrow, big day. Yes. Tomorrow expected to be the final opinion day of this term. Now, here's what may come down. Here's what's up to be decided. Birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions.
That did not go Trump's way. That was already decided. Birthright citizenship upheld by the Supreme Court.
State bans. Here's a big one. State bans on transgender athletes competing in girls' sports.
Let me find out. Competing. Let me see if I can find an answer. It is hot as the dickens up in this piece, bro. Oh my God. It is so ridiculously hot in here. And it's not just me. I know. I can make things pretty spicy sometimes. But it's not that. Not this time. Okay. Court upheld both state bans, 6-3, in the consolidated cases, West Virginia versus BPJ. And Little versus Hecox. Kavanaugh wrote the majority. Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, and Barrett joined. Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson dissented, in part. The holding, states may maintain women's and girls' sports for biological females and set eligibility based on biological sex. And doing so violates neither Title IX nor the Equal Protection Clause. Both lower court rulings, 4th and 9th Circuits, were reversed and remanded. The ruling permits but doesn't require these bans. Okay, I assumed. It validates the 27 states with existing laws, but the court explicitly did not impose a nationwide ban, and states that allow trans athletes to compete can keep those inclusive policies. So the framing here of Flashpoint claiming that it was a sweeping mandate is nonsense. That's not what happened, basically.
Like this should even be something that has to go to the Supreme Court. But, okay, they're going to do that. Campaign finance limits on coordinated party spending and several other cases. Let me get...
Hang on. I'm sure that this is expanded. I'm sure that campaign finance is allowed even more than it was before because that's how it always works. Money floods into the system and suddenly all this shit goes the way the money wanted it to. The court struck down the federal limits on coordinated party spending, the caps on how much a party committee can spend in direct coordination with its own candidates. Kavanaugh held the limits violate the First Amendment and that the only valid basis for campaign finance restrictions is preventing quid pro quo corruption, which he said existing rules, base contribution limits, anti-earmarking rules, disclosure already handled. That's absurd. It overturns the 2001 precedent Colorado 2, which had upheld the same caps 5-4. Before this, a party could only spend a capped amount coordinating with a candidate. Senate races ranged from 130,000 up to 4 million by state size. These caps are now gone. Kagan's dissent lays out the practical hole it opens. A donor can now route far larger sums to a candidate through the party than the $7,000 direct contribution cap would ever allow. So they basically just erased donation limits. People can donate $10 million to a candidate. To a candidate if they want. According to the Supreme Court now, there are basically no limits anymore. Fantastic. Great fucking job, Supreme Court.
Bishop, what do you think? You think anything will happen, or will they just kind of pull the plug and go home?
Well, I hope so. I don't know.
What possible reason could these people have for wanting campaign finance rules erased? I don't even know what excuse they could be using here. It's simply not free speech. Corruption is not free speech. Breaking the law is not free speech. That's not how any of this shit works. Murder is not free speech. Asking an assassin to murder your husband is not free speech. You're using language, but you're using that language to commit a fucking crime. Right? So, like, when people say this is free speech, using your money to support a candidate in a corrupt way, that's not free fucking speech. That's corruption.
We've seen so much schizophrenic behavior out of this court, and we're all disappointed at some of the appointments that President Trump has made. But I think it's all the more reason why we have to get our grassroots engaged, get boots on.
I thought he was going to say our grass booty
on the ground, chapters operating, and we take it to the local fight. Rick said earlier about the states. We have to go after the states and see reformation take place in the states. So only then can we put the heat on the federal legislature and address this Fourth Reich, which is a deep state.
The Fourth Reich. The left is the Fourth Reich. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Get help, dude. Really? The left is the Fourth Reich?
That is an unelected bureaucrat that's standing between us and the will of the people being done.
That's correct.
Yes.
All right. This is why. Yes. Go ahead, Rand. Go ahead.
I just want to say something. Doesn't it seem to you that what happens in the politics of the conservative side of the court is they go, the left is always threatening that we need reform in the judiciary. We need to restack the court. So what they do, I think, I'm serious. I think they do this. They go, we can't keep ruling for Trump. We have to throw a couple, away to the left.
Yeah, because they have zero legitimacy. Zero. And they know that. They know they're viewed they know they're viewed as completely illegitimate. So, yeah, I agree. I think that the right-wing extremists in the court, like John Roberts, he is not a moderate. He is an extremist. He keeps thinking to himself, well, I have to do something for the left so they think that I have some legitimacy. When he was chosen as a Supreme Court justice back in under Bush, his whole thing was Christian nationalism and making schools basically churches, turn schools into churches. Bible readings in schools. Kids must read the Bible in schools. They must pray in schools, the whole nine.
They're going to say that we're not fair and balanced. I'm telling you, the weak part on our team is the part that wants to be popular in Georgetown and in the cocktails and the coffee hour and in the elites.
Oh, it's the deep state, right? Yeah.
circles of Washington, D.C., they don't want to be labeled as Trump's judges. That offends their egos. So they literally screw up, I'm convinced, certain votes that Trump wants in order to show that they don't have to submit to Trump. And
I can see that.
They're independent. That's what I think it is.
Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, man, that's exactly what happened. And specifically with this thing about executive power, and Lance nailed it. I mean, look, the president is elected to execute the laws. That's specifically in Article 2. That's his job. So all of these agencies are supposed to answer to him. And
no, they're not, though. That's what the word fucking independent means, dumbass. Independent agencies do not answer to Donald Trump. That's the point. Does he have the right to fire the heads of independent agencies? No. Obviously fucking not.
And when the nation says this is the philosophy that we want, we're also hiring not just Trump, but 4,000 appointments of Trump or whoever gets elected. Biden gets elected, 4,000 appointments by AutoPen. You know, whichever side wins, they get to...
Yeah, because you see, Trump isn't using AutoPen. Only Biden uses AutoPen.
Run the government on the executive side of executing the laws. And so to not let him fire people that were there for the last administration or people that he appoints and then says, no, you're not doing a good job, I should be able to fire you. I've said this for years. The president of the United States should be able to hire and fire anyone in the executive branch, from the very top, the secretaries, all the way down. And that's just the way it's supposed to work. And so, yeah, they split their decision. Basically, one of these cases, they said, yes, he can fire the FTC commissioner. And Roberts tried to dial it back, but I think the majority opinion is going to allow that to go, as Trump said in his interview there, to all of these other agencies. But then they did this other decision, Trump v. Cook, where they basically said he couldn't fire this Federal Reserve member. On a ridiculous reason, Roberts makes the argument that the Federal Reserve is independent. And
it is independent. Again, I don't want to go through this whole economics thing right now, but here's the bottom line. The reason the US dollar can be a reserve currency and the Chinese yuan cannot be the reserve currency of the world is because China has strict control over their currency. Like, the Chinese government controls it directly. You can't take money out of China unless you go through this whole process. And that means that it will never be as powerful as the dollar, but it will be very powerful for the party, at the very least, within China. If you want your currency to be powerful and safe, you have to make sure that it is independent and not subject to the whims of the political environment in the United States at any given moment. And that is why the Federal Reserve is independent. We're $40 trillion in debt, right? Do you know who we're in debt to? It's not China. I think they have $1 trillion. Last I checked, it may be different now. Saudi Arabia, I believe, has about $1 trillion as well. We're in debt to ourselves, to the Federal Reserve. That's who we owe that money to. The Federal Reserve basically prints money as an independent organization, not part of the U.S. government. Prints money, loans it to us, or others. They loan it to other people too. They print money and move decimal places over in our bank account so that we can spend that. And now we owe that money to the Federal Reserve. And the president wants to take control of the Federal Reserve and impose his own interests on them. He wants to hire his own guys there. That's a mistake. That is accelerating the destruction of our status as the world reserve currency.
Therefore, the president should... Now, wait a minute. Show me the constitutional clause where the Federal Reserve is independent. You can't, because the Federal Reserve's not in the Constitution.
Yes, obviously, you fucking idiot. The Constitution doesn't contain all information about every single thing. We have Congress for that, for adding laws and stuff like that. The Federal Reserve, I believe, was created by Alexander Hamilton, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the first head of the Federal Reserve, if I remember correctly.
No.
We've created this thing and then said this monster has no accountability to anybody?
No, that's not what anybody said. They have no accountability to the president, specifically, intentionally. If they do bow to the president, it could lead to corruption and political issues. Rick Green knows that. He knows that. He must know that, right?
To Congress, not to the president. That is ridiculous, but that's Robert's position. The president should be able to hire and fire those members of the Fed. Listen, they set our interest rates. They set our monetary policy. I mean, our monetary supply.
Yes.
So you got to answer to somebody. Anyway, that I'm going to get off too far on that one.
Yeah, let me tell you what happens if there is no independent body. If it's just the government printing the money instead of the Federal Reserve printing the money. You know what happens? I'll tell you what happens, because this exact thing happened in Germany in 1923. It was, they were using the Reichsmark, no, they were using the German mark, the paper mark, I believe is what it was called at the time. It changed names over the decades, the Reichsmark, the German mark, the paper mark, just the mark, whatever. Anyway, they were using the mark, I believe the paper mark, in 1923, and it was worth about 4 marks per US dollar at the time. So within, I think in 1922, 1923, things started to get bad, and the German government just started printing more marks. They needed more money because they had to pay reparations to France for the Treaty of Versailles because they lost World War I. And now they have to pay France back for that. And they were out of money. So what do? They just start printing more money with no accountability, with no expectation of paying it back. And as they printed more money, more entered into the economy, and it became worth less. This is just a natural process that happens. There isn't somebody saying, now I'm paying less for it. This is how economies work. So it was worth less. And now, I think in maybe 1922, when this really started hitting the fan, the German mark is now worth, instead of 4 per US dollar, it's now 8 per US dollar. So now the employee that makes 30,000 marks a year is making 15,000 marks a year. And the prices of everything stay the same. So your rent is doubled, your car payment's doubled, your horse payment, whatever the fuck they were paying for at the time, is doubled. Everything doubled. Your food budget's doubled. And you're making exactly what you were before. You're not getting a raise. And then it went from then it went from 8 marks per dollar to 11 marks per dollar. And then from 11 to 100 marks per dollar. Now, the employee that was making 30,000 marks a year is making 3,000 marks a year, or 300 marks a year. And then it went to 1,000 per dollar. And then 1 billion per dollar. And finally maxed out at 4.3 trillion marks per dollar. It was so worthless that people were going to the train station with wheelbarrows and scooping up all of the German marks they could into the wheelbarrow and wheeling them to the store to buy milk. Girls were prostituting themselves for a stick of butter. I am an expert on some areas of World War II, and I've written a book on it. It's called God's People, Christian nationalism in the Third Reich. It's owenmorgan.com/godspeople, Amazon and Audible if you want to check it out. But God's people. I talk about, Germany at length in that book. Anyway, there was a point that I wanted to get to. I'm trying to remember what it was now. It was, shit, what was it? Well, anyway. Oh, yeah, I remember now. The point is that when a government prints money with no accountability, without, having to pay it back or whatever, it fucks us. It fucks people hard. That was the most intense example of hyperinflation in world history ever at that time. There was a more intense example of hyperinflation later in Hungary, I think in the post-war years in the 1950s. But the point is that we have a separate Federal Reserve, separate from the U.S. government, to prevent that kind of thing. If it's not separate, we are subject to hyperinflation in a way that we are not subject to it right now. In a way that we are not at risk right now. Donald Trump eroding all of these protections is putting us at risk in ways that only a historian can really understand. And if you were a historian, it would scare the fucking shit out of you. Trust me.
But the good news is, I shouldn't just be lambasting him, because the Trump v. Slaughter case is huge. I mean, that is a big victory. Now President Trump can go hire and fire in a lot of these agencies, which he absolutely should be able to do, as Wendell said.
He absolutely should not. I mean, it goes from agency to agency, I suppose, how devastating this would be. But the U.S. president should not be meddling with the Federal Reserve at all.
They're like this fourth branch that doesn't answer to anybody. It's time for them to have to answer. So this is a big victory. And it was like 1935 when the previous case, came down. So big change, positive things. We should accentuate the positive instead of me being negative about all the other cases. So this one's a big one to celebrate.
No, it just shows you, and it goes back to what Lance was saying. Perhaps this was, okay, we'll give you that, but we're going to take this one.
Right.
That's the
100%.
better of the options. The worst of the options is they're on the take somehow.
A lot of people don't even realize how bad some certain decisions are. Like, the fact that Trump can meddle with the Federal Reserve at all is, so fucking bad. People just really do not understand. He shouldn't be fucking with the Federal Reserve at all.
Or corrupt, but I'm not calling him corrupt. I'm just saying, I don't know what I'm saying.
You're saying they're corrupt. Just own it.
All right. This is why it's so important we get involved in Flashpoint Army chapters. How'd you like that segue?
It was fucking terrible. It was dumb as dog shit.
Yes, we are excited about...
All right, I'm jumping forward. I don't care about their chapters. But if you do care about chapters, check the chapters in my book, owenmorgan.com/godspeople. It's on Amazon and Audible. All right, sorry. Had to plug it.
Have a real easy, you're in step one. As soon as you finish this, you get to go to step two. Here's what it'll be. Now you're step two. Here's what you do. And then they'll get to choose once they get through with their kind of boot camp, if you will, going through those 8 biblical cities. Wendell said, Texas, that's part of what if you want to be held, what not get I hope so.
A fit are a myriad of things. One of the things that be deployed at liberty and justice together.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find where this starts.
We didn't absorb them, okay? This is us coming together. We're best. They're just there.
The only one, it's Rocky Malloy's group, and I see bad arm those. He said, "No, they're like to be and where stubble and he's
great."
Holy shit! Are they still advertising FP Army? Oh my God!
Here's Justin Wojak.
All right,
you are in South Africa.
All right. This is basically like a Trump theology TV show called Flashpoint. It was started by Kenneth Copeland, and they will do absolutely anything for Trump. It's bizarre. Let's give this a listen.
Dawkins, and we spent about help pay the bills to keep that going. You helped with Wi-Fi internet devices in Iran. I'm
sorry, I'm trying to understand. Where does this start?
It's great things. You know, one of the things that Flashpoint does, and you guys, we have been able to help so many people out. Mike Lindell was just on. Remember when we helped save Lindell Recovery Network? You guys did that. We rallied together.
Yeah, Lindell Recovery Network is fucking worthless and should not exist at all. It should be illegal to claim some kind of, I don't know, like psychological benefit or whatever when you're not a psychology organization. It's for like drug addicted people, and they basically tell them to get Jesus. That's not helpful.
And help keep it open and help pay the bills to keep that going. You helped with Wi-Fi internet devices in Iran with Robbie Dawkins, and we spent about $100,000 right there to do. Well, you're also, this week, you didn't know this, but you are in South Africa. We partnered with Greystone Church to help do an outreach, and they're going to be sending us reports all this week. Here's the first one from today, Cape Town, South Africa. Here's Justin Wojak.
Thank you, Gene. In Flashpoint Army, we want to take you along this week what the Lord is doing down here in Cape Town, South Africa. But I got to be honest, before we
What happened to America first? I thought you guys cared about the U.S. Why aren't you putting your money into the United States?
Even talk about Cape Town, we got to talk about the Great Commission. God has commanded us to go as we are going to make disciples. And so that leads me to Acts 1:8. How are we supposed to bring the Great Commission to life? Well, it starts in our Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth.
Judea, Sumeri. What the fuck is Sumeri? Did he mean Sumeria? I've never heard of Sumeri before.
So our Jerusalem, that is our hometown.
I've never heard of Jerusalem either. What the fuck is Jerusalem? Are you hearing this shit?
Samaria to the ends of the earth. So our Jerusalem, that is our hometown. This is where we go to school. This is where we go to work, go to the ball fields, go to the gym. And so guys, are you representing Jesus? Are you allowing Jesus to overflow where you are currently at? And then Judea, Samaria, a little bit further out of your hometown, and then boom, to the ends of the earth. And so at Greystone Church, part of our vision is to assist the laborers in the harvest field all over the world. And so today, this week, we are doing that. We are doing what we call our sports camp, aka VBS, down here with
Vacation Bible School. They're doing Vacation Bible School.
This amazing community of kids, just not sharing the good news, but our lives. I love 1 Thessalonians 2:8.
Honestly, in my opinion, I believe Vacation Bible School is abuse and should be illegal. Truthfully. You know, I know that's a tall claim. I know that may be controversial, but just put this in your ear. If you're not old enough to get married or get a tattoo, you should not be old enough to make decisions like baptism, right? Or to make a decision about your religious beliefs. Especially one that will affect your life until the day you die. Like with Jehovah's Witnesses, people aren't allowed to leave that religion unless they intend to lose every man or every family member and friend that they've ever loved. Then they can leave Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, in Israel, it's illegal to proselytize to children unless you have their parents' permission. That's interesting, right? I kind of like that idea. I'm not sure that their parents should even be allowed to give the okay for people to proselytize to these children, though, honestly. Children just shouldn't be proselytized to. I'm not going to tell parents what to do with their lives or their children or whatever, but vacation Bible school should not exist. It's fucking vile, dude.
We loved you so much that we not only shared with you the good news, but our own lives too. And so, guys, that's how simple the gospel is.
But the gospel is not that simple, obviously, but okay.
Sitting down, playing with the kids, building relationships with them just like Jesus did, and allowing Jesus to overflow our cups into these amazing kids, but then the staff that
pleasuring Jesus like a young boy should, right?
Is down here day in and day out. And so Flashpoint Army, I want to thank you. Because of your giving, you are making an impact down here in the community, in the lives of Cape Town, South Africa. So again, Flashpoint Army, you are everywhere, and I just want to say thank you for your giving. So
again, I'm not sure why they're in Cape Town, South Africa. I thought we were supposed to care about America first, weren't we? Am I the idiot? That's possible, I suppose.
I can't wait to share with you more of what God is doing each day. So, Gene, back to you.
Thank you, Justin. Again, we'll give reports this week as they continue to minister down there. But you guys are doing that. You didn't even know we were doing that. Wanted to tell you that's exactly what we're doing. And we partnered with Greystone Church there in Georgia. And so you help cover the cost for a lot of that. Good news. All right, I got a text today from our friend Michelle Bachman, who
oh God, not her,
actually is in Latvia. And did you know, Wendell, we may need to launch Flashpoint chapters in Riga, Latvia, because we've already got somebody there. Here's a clip she sent me.
Hi.
Tell them who you are and where you're from.
I'm from Riga, Latvia.
And your name?
Kārlis Kaupers.
And you were playing in the worship band.
Yeah, piano.
You were playing piano in the worship band.
Yeah.
And tell Gene that you watch him.
Yeah, I so enjoy Flashpoint, and so I say hello.
Oh God, we've got a fucking psycho on our hands.
Very good. Well, be blessed, my brother. It was great to be with you in Riga.
Yeah.
Blech.
Bye-bye.
Am I the only one that wants to vomit when they hear that shit? My God, bro. This is what childhood indoctrination leads to, okay? It should be illegal.
So Lance, he's been watching for a little more material. He's been watching for 4 years, avid watcher. I don't know what his name was. He said it. So, hey, you're watching. You just don't.
Hey, you're watching?
Don't know who's on the other end watching.
No, I mean, so what do you think? He's watching in YouTube? Is that where he's watching it from? What's your theory on that, Gene?
I don't know.
I was in Latvia.
Yeah, Riga, Latvia. I mean, he could most likely would be something like YouTube.
But do people watch things in other places other than YouTube and or TikTok?
Well, that's why our people need to share. You know, you guys got to realize something. You not only are contributing financially, you're not only doing stuff in chapters. I'm so excited to see Rocky's, we've been working with Rocky and Rick to see the team come together like this. But every time you like and subscribe, you click on a program.
Oh my God, the shilling. By the way, click that, smash that like button. You know what? Don't smash it. Don't smash it. I think lightly poking or even caressing does just as well as smashing. Sometimes you don't need to use a hammer for a job that a velvet glove will do the trick. You can just lightly poke the like button, and that's okay.
You like, and you share it with someone. Trust me, there's people out there looking for this kind of Christian conversation, and they don't know it's there. So you can reach out to other people and let them know about Flashpoint.
Yeah, I think it really is amazing. And I was just impressed that Michelle Bachman thought enough to flip her camera around and send us a video. Thank you, Michelle, for doing that.
Well, the guy probably saw her originally on Flashpoint, right? Because she's kind of a has-been, a washed-up old politician who is not really relevant to society anymore to any degree at all. And so they probably saw her on Flashpoint having pity on her. And they're like, hey, I know you from Flashpoint. Not from the time you spent in Congress, but on Flashpoint. Because that's all you're known for nowadays.
All right, let me show you this graph. Here's some more good news. What's going on in Texas? Texas board approves Bible stories required reading in public schools. The rollout will be staggered starting.
I covered this on my Fireside channel the other day. Yeah. Bible is now required reading in Texas schools. Illegal, but, you know, we live in that kind of country now.
Elementary school students in 2030. Rick, this is almost, I mean, I hate to say it, it's almost shocking that this has come through.
It's so good, man. It's basically returning to our roots and what made the nation great in the first place. I was down there.
The nation was great in the first place in the beginning when they read the Bible in schools. They never did that. That didn't happen, okay? They did that in the 1920s, 30s, I believe, very early on. Before that, schools didn't really exist. Public schools didn't exist. Public schools didn't start appearing in the United States until between the 1850s and the 1920s. I think by 1916, the last public school, compulsory public school, was added. Or I think in 1916, Mississippi was the last state to add compulsory public school, if I'm not mistaken. I looked this up just the other day. I don't remember now. Between 1850 and 1916. Okay? These people like to pretend that public school has existed since the 1700s. That's just not the case. However, they did refer to Sunday school, church Sunday school, as public school back then. So sometimes you'll find a document talking about like a certain grade, like fourth grade or whatever, when it's talking about Sunday school. Like, you know, on Sundays after church, they bring all the children into this room and split them into grades. That's what they're referring to a lot. These people like to twist the meaning around a lot, you know.
Testifying at the state board last Monday. And so it started off really, really well. There was a lot of people there testifying for. There were definitely people there testifying against. They wanted to get all the Islam stuff in and leftist philosophy and all this, you know, what they...
Leftist philosophy.
Made sound like feel good, just include everybody, but what it basically meant was water down American history and the foundation that made our country great. And we had some board members here in Texas that just did an outstanding job. The chairman did a phenomenal job. Frankly, Governor Abbott and Governor Patrick both encouraged the board to do this, and so they were a wonderful positive influence on it.
If you don't know the story, basically, I think the Texas school board, like the head board over all of Texas schools, decided to add a bunch of Bible readings to the mandatory list of books that teachers must add to their curriculum. So like in English class, in history class, in whatever, teachers are required to discuss Moby Dick and, you know, Anne Frank's diary and stuff like that. They're required to cover that stuff, right? Well, now they're required to cover Ecclesiastes and Lamentations and whatever the fuck else. So they added it to the required list of books that must be discussed by teachers in their curriculum. That's what happened.
You know, Brandon Hall and Julie Pickering on the board were really the force behind not only getting the Bible back in the classroom, but I mean Washington and Adams and all the good stuff from our history. So, Gene, I mean this is definitely a time to celebrate. This will have an impact not just for this next generation of 10, 15 years. This is a 50-year impact. This reverses 80 years of our Texas education system going to the left. Wow. It's a massive change.
Okay, it's not going to the left to not have Jesus all over every fucking curriculum in the state. That's not going to the left, okay? That's respecting other people's religious choices and letting them teach church on their own time. There's a difference. Jesus Christ.
And for all our Flashpoint Army out there, most states buy Texas textbooks or California textbooks. Most states don't go through what our state does, the hundreds of millions of dollars they spend to do this. So this is big for the whole country. It's not just for Texas. Definitely
Excellent
worth
point.
celebrating tonight.
It is. And we thank you, Jesus, for what a great win. All right. You know, it's 2028 is really not that far away, and there's a lot of talk about who might be running. Here's one potential candidate.
I noticed that you're turning 35 soon, right?
In a few months, yes.
So you now hit one of the constitutional requirements to run for president. But there's another one that says you have to be a natural-born citizen. You were not born here.
Yes.
But do you think that's something that should be changed in the Constitution? It would take an amendment, but do you think that we should change that?
No.
No?
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
I was convinced they were going to cut the last sentence off there where he said, no, it shouldn't be changed. I was so sure they were going to propagandize by doing that. But no, they showed the whole thing. Very nice. Yeah, he says he's not running for president because he can't, and the Constitution is fine as it is. And I would love to have Mamdani as the president, but I agree. I think it's fine. We don't need to change it.
I'm very excited to focus on New York City, but thank you for reminding me of my upcoming
35
mortality.
years old. 35 years old. All right.
Yes, sir.
No, I don't want to run. I want to run. No, really, I don't.
I don't understand. You're saying he was tongue-in-cheek and pretending he didn't really want to be president? Or that pretending that he didn't want to be president, but he really did? He couldn't have possibly been clearer just now. He said, no, the Constitution's fine as it is. Leave it alone. I'm not running. What could he have said to make you happy?
I don't want to run, Lance. What do you think? He's going to run?
No, I'm not worried. Well, what I'm worried
he didn't
about
qualify.
him, he is the charismatic, smiling face of the Marxist revolution, and it's like the devil, disguises himself as an angel of light, so cute, so photogenic, and then he brings out the other side of the.
Well, what's the other side? He's been in office for like over a year. What's the other side? Are we going to see the other side at some point? What's the evil that he intends to do that he just hasn't done yet? What is your complaint here?
Bolshevik revolution.
What Bolshevik revolution is happening? Are you fucking drunk?
Which invariably is going to be the destruction of Christians and Jews and the collapse of your economy. But what's interesting about this thing is, as you know, they have 3 communists, basically, that just got elected.
But, okay, I don't know who he's talking about, but Mamdani is not a communist. He's a socialist, and as a socialist, he's still a capitalist, FYI. I know these people don't understand what those words mean, but you can be both a socialist and a capitalist. Or let me rephrase. You can be a socialist and in favor of markets, of regulated markets. I'm definitely in favor of regulated markets. Who the fuck isn't, right? But they should not let them run away with corruption and all the shit that comes with an unregulated capitalist economy, obviously, right? I mean, who the fuck could disagree with that?
In New York, and we have guaranteed people going into Congress in these districts. The way that the Bolshevik revolution works, the way that this historically works, Gene, is you pick places where there is low participation. And so you don't have a whole lot of.
There's low participation in New York fucking city? What?
Conservatives and Republicans in certain places. And then you put in there the most radical version of what you want, so that you intimidate the Schumers and the Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of the party into thinking that you're a movement within their party. The Democrats are right now in the midst of an ideologic civil war because the smiling Mamdani and the AOCs and the communists that are getting into these overpoweringly weird districts that.
Okay, but he's not a communist. None of these people are communists. Not a single person that he's named so far is a communist.
are not the nation. They're not. You can't sell it now.
Yeah, Lance Wallnow says the devil is cute and photogenic. You heard it here first, folks, right?
Nationally, but you can certainly do it in certain pockets where the left is dominant. And what's psychological is they're putting intimidation on the party itself to start to move from being centrist to becoming more radical. And that's a scary thing.
It is.
I have no fucking clue what he is talking about right now, honestly.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Bishop Hutchins, I'll give you the first minute to wrap up.
Well, I just think that we've seen so many things happen just this past week: tornadoes, hurricanes. Yep. Everything that volcanoes, everything that you see.
Tornadoes and volcanoes. I mean, aren't those things happening around the world all the time anyway?
As a landscape, not to mention all of these things that are happening with a Marxist ideology. It's high time for the Church of God to wake up and realize that we're in a civilizational war, and we must be engaged and we must get involved, and we can do more than what we've ever done before, because this nation is worth saving and our world is worth reaching. And so we have a burden and we carry it. I'm reminded of the Black Robe Regiment. We need
this is completely fabricated. This is not real. This is made up by David Barton. This claim that there were these religious figures that wore their black robes at church and preached, and at the end of the sermon, they took their robes off, their black robes, and they were wearing military attire underneath. They take their church out back for rifle training and boot camp every Sunday. And they fought in the Revolutionary War. That's completely made up. Every single piece of that is made up. None of that is real. But, you know, these people lie for a living, so. Oop.
Burden, and we carry it. I'm reminded of the Black Robe Regiment. We need ministers. We need men and women who will stand up and be bold. These Marxists are being bold and radical. They're, just as he said, Lance just said, they're changing the center of gravity so that they can, they want to capsize the Democratic Party and burn it to the ground.
I have no intention of capsizing and or burning to the ground the Democratic Party. I agree with Mamdani on just about everything, probably. I haven't heard a damn thing out of his mouth I disagree with yet. Nobody wants to burn the party to the ground or whatever. I want the party to work with me. Unfortunately, I don't think they will. Unfortunately, I think the Democratic Party is going to fight for every inch until they end up leaving and going to the Republican Party. But okay.
So that they can remake it in their own image. They don't intend to get along and coexist. So we have to stand up and meet that energy and that negativity.
That's right.
We've got to meet that with the power of the...
It's negativity for people to want to make change?
The anointing of God. And so we have to discern the times and do it.
That's right. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Lance, Rick.
Wow, that's the end. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. These people are out of their gourds, for real. Tell me what you think in the comments. Okay, I want to try something new. Oh, give me a second here. Hold on. All right. Give it a second. It's going. There it is. It's going kind of slow here. Okay. Gene.
America is still, without question.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Step back here. Gene Bailey. The. All right. Let me just pull it up here. Hold on. Okay. Gene Bailey, this guy wrote a book titled Killing America. It's absolutely psychotic. I just want to listen to a little bit of it. I TTS'd the book, text to speech. Let's see how it sounds. We're going to start at the foreword by Charlie Kirk. Just listen to a bit of it here.
Foreword by Charlie Kirk. If you've ever watched my radio show or seen me speak, you know that I have a problem with a lot of Christian pastors. In one word, they're cowards. Wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. So says
yes, Charlie Kirk, famous for hating Christians.
The book of Proverbs. But today's Christian leaders fear a great many things besides God. They fear condemnation from the press, from their neighbors, or from their own parishioners. They fear for their reputations. They fear being regarded as something other than respectable, good citizens. They fear death instead of what comes after it. And so, rather than speaking out, they go silent. They avoid speaking about controversial topics from the pulpit or anywhere else. Instead of proclaiming the gospel, they keep it half hidden, presenting only the parts that are easy.
Okay, so Charlie Kirk is saying pastors don't talk about the gospel enough. What he means to say is pastors talk too much about the gospel and not quite enough about politics, right?
They preach a private Christianity instead of a bold public one. Above all, they shun anything that is too political, as if politics is entirely outside the realm of Christian values.
I don't think that Christianity is... So, as if Christianity is outside the realm of Christian values. I'm sorry. As if politics is entirely outside the realm of Christian values. It actually is. And mixing the two together is a mistake, obviously.
Fortunately, Gene and Terry Bailey are not that type of Christian. I've known both of them for years, long enough to know they are both the real thing. They know that the lives we live right now are only a prelude, and that all of us will be judged for how we act today. They know that if we really believe in Christ and the Bible, then we need to publicly stand up for the unborn, for real marriage, for freedom of worship, and more.
Abortion has been a political wedge issue. Abortion was created not because people genuinely believed abortion was bad, but because it was a useful weapon against people. Simple as that. The creators of the abortion issue were fully aware that, or the creators of the abortion issue as a political issue didn't give a fuck about it. We know this. We know the history of the issue. We know the creators. We know the reason it was created and their thinking behind it and the whole nine.
They also aren't in denial about the challenge facing America. For 200 years, every American lived in a country that, whatever its flaws, was at least implicitly Christian in nature.
I don't know what the fuck that means. I'm actually going to speed it up a bit and see how it sounds.
The biblical worldview was taken for granted as the guidepost to live our lives by. That biblical worldview is what drove the Americans first to seek independence from Britain, then to abolish slavery. Because it strove to observe Christian ethics, America was blessed. But for decades now, America has been turning away from that worldview.
Because Christians existed in the United States, it's been blessed. But the United States is turning away from Christianity and is now suffering because of it. Fucking please, dude. Again, this is Charlie Kirk's forward.
Gene and Terry can both tell you the result of that. Because
supposedly, it's a forward by him. Somebody points out, doesn't sound like Charlie Kirk at all. Yeah, good point.
But for decades now, America has been turning away from that worldview. Gene and Terry can both tell you the result of that. Because we have abandoned God, terrible afflictions are coming for this country. Freedoms have eroded, as has our wealth.
So since this was TTS with a custom model, it's not perfect. Every now and then it slips in weird garbled nonsense, but it's pretty fucking good, I think.
Young Americans live confused lives of uncertainty and moral anarchy. The family is vanishing.
They do? It is?
Parents mutilate their children to win approval on social media. To quote Solzhenitsyn, people have forgotten God, and that is why all these terrible things have happened. But fortunately, Gene and Terry have a plan. They are experts on America's many past religious revivals, and they know how to pave the way for another one.
They're experts on America's past revivals. Okay.
Killing America may have a bleak title, but it's not a tale of despair. It's a roadmap for all who yearn to see America restored to her God-given glory.
So I get the impression they're saying they want to kill America as it is now and resurrect it in Jesus' image. Is that what the point is?
The Bailey Strategic Guide offers actionable steps for every Christian who wishes to stand up for their values while protecting their families from the tribulations to come and ensuring that their faith emerges intact on the other side. As the Baileys so aptly remind us, we are not mere bystanders in this epic tale. We are active participants, chosen for this moment to make a difference. We shouldn't lament that we were born in a difficult time. We should rejoice that God has given us this chance to show our devotion.
Honestly, we weren't born in a difficult time. We were born in a wonderful, incredible time. We were born in a difficult place. And not even that difficult in the grand scheme of things, but we definitely live in a dictatorship now. We live in an authoritarian, not as bad as Germany, obviously, as far as dictatorships go. Germany was monitoring everybody and charging them with thought crimes, basically. You couldn't discuss communism in a bar because you'd be overheard and denounced by by your neighbors to the Gestapo, and the Gestapo would pay you a visit and fuck with you. That kind of thing. Put you in jail. Germany was definitely worse than America is today. But that doesn't mean that we are not in an authoritarian regime right now. We absolutely are. Fuck.
Story is America's story, one of resilience, redemption, and revival.
Wait, America's story is a Christian story, one of resilience, redemption, and revival.
With your help, America's next chapter won't be one of final collapse, but of its greatest ever triumph. Forward by Eric Metaxas.
Okay, this one is Eric Metaxas. I believe Charlie Kirk was first and Metaxas is second.
Hardly say how excited I am that Gene and Terry Bailey have written this vitally important book. Let's just say, very. That will give you the general idea. It has given me genuine joy to read it, and to know that many others can read it too. First of all, I should mention that the book in your hands is very readable, which is not always the case with other books that are equally vitally important. I aspire in all the books I've written to be as readable as possible, because if a book doesn't pull the reader along to continue reading, it might as well not exist, no matter what important information it contains.
Yeah, that's why I wrote my book in the design pattern that I did. God's People, Christian Nationalism in the Third Reich. I used a design pattern called In Midas Res, where basically I hook the reader at the beginning of each chapter with a dramatic moment, a star or a hook, a scene that holds your attention. Bonhoeffer being executed. The Sportpalast moment for Reinhold Krauss, where he's standing in front of a giant crowd and getting cheers and applause, and people say, "We don't want white Jews," and stuff. Or the moment that a Jehovah's Witness named Frank is being, forced to say Heil Hitler or be executed, that kind of thing. Like, I tried to make it intense and dramatic at the start to earn the reader's interest. And then I walk through the biography of whoever I'm covering and end up back at their star moment, at the hook where it started. That's how my design pattern was.
But just as important as being readable, this is a book filled with genuine hope. It is also filled with wisdom and truth, and a raft of important information about exactly where we are in this country, so I would highly recommend it just for that. But the idea that it is also filled with hope is what sets it apart. Without a clear sense of where God is and all that is happening, and of how He wants to lead us through this mess, it can all be depressing. But when you know it is His will to give us hope amidst the madness, it changes everything. Only when you have real hope and know what God's will is, can you really face what is happening in our nation. without knowing that God has a real plan to turn it around and desires to use us to do that. It really is easier simply to look away. Most of us can hardly believe what's happening in our great country because it's unlike anything any of us ever dreamt could happen, certainly in our lifetimes.
And of course, they think the deep state's taken over, and that's the complaint here.
And because it's so horrifying, it's much, much easier for us to ignore it, to simply pretend it's not happening, or perhaps to tell ourselves it's at least not as bad as it seems. But when you see where God is in the middle of it all, everything changes.
Oh, they are absolutely going to fearmonger the shit out of the readers, right? Convince them that, like, the deep state is taking over and they're killing their children and all kinds of shit, right?
So if you or anyone you know is tempted to despair because of all that we are seeing around us, you have in this book what I see as the antidote to that despair. We really do need to know that God himself desires to give us hope so that we might give others hope, and so that we might all faithfully and joyfully join the fight to turn the tide of evil rising around us by his grace. And when you understand what God is doing in the midst of the craziness, you won't just have hope, but will be drawn to be part of what he is doing, which is of course his plan. So the gigantic question of whether this can all be turned around has a lot to do with you and whether you answer God's call to do your part in turning it around. Each of us has a vital role, and I believe this book will inspire you to play the specific role God has appointed for you and no one else. I'm truly amazed to think that just a few years ago, I didn't know who Gene and Terry Bailey were. The simple fact that God has, in the midst of all the craziness of the last few years, given us the Victory Channel and Flashpoint and Gene and Terry seems to me to be solid, incontrovertible evidence that God is not done with this country.
So some random psychotic fucking TV show pops up, and that's evidence that God is working in your midst or whatever. Okay, got it.
He is raising up all kinds of people to give us hope and to show us that we aren't the only ones who see what is happening and who want to be part of God's plan to do something about it. Before I go, I should mention one more important thing. Gene Bailey is genuinely funny, which is actually important. I have a bunch of worldly, funny credentials. In college, I edited the Yale Humor magazine, and before I was born again, I had an ambition to write for David Letterman and SNL and Jerry...
Oh yeah, Eric Metaxas, and he tried to do a stand-up bit, or he tried to do a late-night show forever ago.
Big news in the world of show business. Harrison Ford will be returning for a 5th Indiana Jones movie. Yeah, in this one, Harrison will find an ancient artifact by looking in the mirror. Oh!
That's not funny. What? You do not have funny credentials, sir.
Oh, did you see that coming? Did you see? Okay. All right, here's something else. This is kind of hard to believe. Barbie's longtime companion, Ken, just turned 61 years old. Yeah, and he said the perfect gift for his birthday would be to finally get a prostate.
That's not funny. I don't understand. Why did you think that's funny? You're not funny, Eric.
Let me just get started by telling you I had a kind of a weird thing happen on the way to the show tonight. I was on the subway. Just go with it. I was on the subway, and there was a guitarist, playing for tips, and it was so nice. I thought I would tip him, and he told me he only takes crypto.
That's not funny. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's like, what happened? What happened? Things have gotten weird. I think let's just be honest. Things are insane. Things are very weird. This is some huge news. I have to begin.
Anyway, the point is he's not funny. He likes to fancy himself a comedian. He's not.
Seinfeld, and almost did, after I became a Christian. But before all the mainstream publications like the New York Times went plumb loco and shilling for the dark side. I used to write humorous things for them and for similar publications that have also gone over to the dark side. But the point is that anyone who knows me knows how seriously I take humor. But one of the reasons I take it so seriously is because I know it's one of the main ways God helps us to communicate effectively. It's also one of the things that enables us to exhibit God's joy in the midst of all that troubles us.
Yeah, Eric Metaxas has an English degree and is actually a very good writer. Here's an example. He says he takes humor seriously. I forget what that's called. There's a word for what he did there. Because, humor is something you don't take seriously by definition. Right. Anyway, it's interesting. I studied a lot about writing, how to write for this book specifically, and really tried to get it right. I even used like the design pattern and everything, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. owenmorgan.com/godspeople.
So when I say that Gene is genuinely funny, it's about more than just being funny. We had him making fun of me when I appear on Flashpoint. It's about communicating clearly, and it's about the joy of the Lord. That all by itself is one of the reasons I'm so glad he and Terry are in my lives today, and in the lives of everyone who is aware of their important ministry. So read this book they've written, and share it, and spread the hope and the joy that God wants us all to experience and share. And may God bless you as you do so.
Eric Metaxas actually wrote what he calls a Bonhoeffer biography. It's not the Bonhoeffer biography. That would be Bonhoeffer, a biography by his best friend, roommate, and possibly gay lover, depending on which historian you ask, Eberhard Bethge. They lived together and they shared a bank account for many years. And Bethge was there when Bonhoeffer was arrested, this famous pastor in World War II. Anyway, Eric Metaxas lied about Bonhoeffer through his entire book about him. And the book was denounced by Bonhoeffer scholars in the field. So that's how I know Metaxas, and he infuriates the fucking shit out of me.
Eric Metaxas, New York City, 1923. Chapter 1, Killing America.
So this is the actual book now. We're through the forewords. This is Gene Bailey and whoever else was involved.
Look, it's no secret. We all know what's going down. We've been suffering through it together for quite a while now. But things seem to be escalating. They're getting out of hand, and worse than we could have possibly imagined. It's hard to wrap our minds around some of the things we're watching unfold before our eyes. The forces of the dark agendas, determined to bring this country to extinction and extinguish the flame of freedom, have been at work for several generations.
Ooh, they're starting early trying to scare the shit out of people.
They have attempted to dismantle this great experiment in freedom that has been a beacon of hope to the world for more than 200 years. There is no easy way to describe it, no feel-good cliches. Our great nation is in trouble, deep trouble. Our blessed America, the land of the free and home of the brave, the place of dreams and opportunities, of baseball, Chevrolet, and apple pie. The country we love is being killed. When we say killed, we mean those behind this dark agenda will stop at nothing less than the absolute demise of America as we know it. This one nation, under God, raised up by God, founded on Judeo-Christian values, as a bastion of light.
Judeo-Christian values are not, let me rephrase. The United States was not founded on Judeo-Christian values. Judeo-Christian is a term that didn't exist until, I believe, the 1900s.
And a defender of the weak is being murdered in cold blood. We realize that murder
can you say hyperbole? Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
In cold blood is extremely harsh verbiage that might cause many to cringe and think it might be an overstatement. But we believe it's an accurate description of what's happening. Any plot to destroy this God-given nation is evil. When the beacon of freedom that is America is taken out of the picture and the world suddenly becomes a much darker place, the hope of freedom for the...
Like people in Europe will point out, America pretends to be a beacon of freedom. It is not, okay? You lose like 10 rights just entering the country. If you're from like another country like Sweden, Norway, hell, even the UK, you are losing rights by simply entering the US.
Trust in other nations begins to fade. And the threat of tyranny can begin to move into that vacuum. Founding Father Thomas Paine wrote in his famous 1776 pamphlet Common Sense, "The cause of America is in a great measure the cause of all mankind." Is America perfect? Certainly not. Do we have issues? Most definitely. We've made many mistakes and blunders, and certainly had our dark moments. However, America has had a solid history of picking herself up, engaging in rigorous debate, correcting her mistakes, and preserving freedom and liberty. The Founding Fathers set up our republic with a system of checks and balances because they were fully aware of the evil and deceptive tendencies of human nature. The ones who want to kill America are set on eliminating those checks and balances. On September 18, 1787, at the Constitutional Convention that met in Philadelphia, Dr. Benjamin Franklin was asked, "Doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" He replied, "A republic if you can keep it." Later, we'll explain the difference between a republic and a democracy, but Franklin understood all too well that going forward, opposing forces with outright evil intentions would be coming to take America out. Nevertheless, God's hand has been on our republic, and we've managed to keep it, though it's been an endless fight throughout our history. America is still, without question, the greatest nation on the planet. Indian American political...
The greatest nation on the planet? I mean... Okay.
Commentator, author, and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza said it well.
Wait, Dinesh D'Souza. Felon Dinesh D'Souza? Is that who we're talking about? The felon who spent time in prison for campaign finance violations? That guy? Okay, go on. What about him?
America is the greatest, freest, and most decent society in existence. It is an oasis of goodness in a desert of cynicism and barbarism. This country, once an experiment unique in the world, you have to ask yourself, why else would millions flood to our border, risking their lives to get in? What?
Well, they're refugees. Lots of people go into other countries as refugees.
Why would fathers and mothers in third world countries send their children away on the harrowing, life-threatening journeys through jungles, mountains, and bloodthirsty cartels? Simple, because America gives them hope. America remains the world's most generous nation, sending more aid to hurting countries and more military support against tyrannical regimes than any other.
And more military support against tyrannical regimes. That's one way to say world police.
Free America is what stands in the way of a total global world order. Shebans have known not to...
Wait, did D'Souza say Al-Qaeda had a point? I have not heard that. That's fucking wild, dude. Oops, shit.
A free America is what stands in the way of a total global world order. Shebans have knowing, not to mention, we still train and support financially and send out more missionaries to spread the gospel than any other country in the world. Plus, America has consistently stood with Israel since its inception in May 1948, even known as Israel's big brother. Numbers 24...
Yeah, and that's something to be proud of. Israel's big brother. We should be glad about that.
9 in the Bible says, "Whoever blesses Israel will be blessed, and whoever curses Israel will be cursed." Good News Translation. Yes, we have been blessed, but things have been shifting. God's hand has been on our nation, but we are now on the verge of being cursed. They are killing America. America is not being assassinated with a quick bullet to the head, or even being overtaken suddenly by foreign militaries. Bombs aren't being dropped, and missiles aren't flying. Not yet, anyway.
Dude, they are so fucking dramatic and hyperbolic and insane. You always find the craziest shit in books.
Instead, it seems our country is suffering a slow, painful death by poisoning. What makes it even more deplorable is the ones who appear to be administering the toxic doses are from within our own ranks. Over the years, it seems we've allowed subversion from the American ideal set by our founding fathers. For decades, we've ignorantly and numbly watched the gradual execution, while occupied on our rabbit-eared TVs with fuzzy screens, which transitioned into Technicolor on our RCA TVs, and advanced on to high-definition, flat screens, and smartphones.
I don't... Why did you put that in about technological advancement? I don't understand.
All the while we were eating our popcorn and cheering our favorite sports teams. Sure, from time to time we would get concerned, have moments of uneasiness, but then we'd go back to being distracted and pacified by our toys and comforts. All the while, our freedoms were being stripped away, ever so subtly, as lethal ideologies were slowly injected into our culture. Jermaine Copeland, best-selling author of The Prayers That Avail Much book series with more than 7 million copies sold, told us, over 50 years ago, "I heard a former communist youth leader outline the plan to take over our nation."
A communist youth leader. You heard a communist youth leader. Okay, what was their name? What did they do? Who were they? Where did you hear this exactly? Are you going to tell us who it was? Or are you just going to, like, make this claim brazenly?
She said they were already in important positions in the media.
It was a chick. This chick communist said that they're already in important positions in the media. I see.
Universities, government, etc. I may have been the only walked out that day believing her. Everyone I talked with or attempted to tell said it will never happen in America. Eventually, the deadly venom started taking its toll, to the point where it appears Our Lady Liberty is now gasping from its cumulative effects. The closer she is to death, the weaker she becomes, and the more accelerated the damage. The forces against her saw an opportunity to finish her off, and sent a tsunami of darkness to drown her in depravity. It's a double whammy, a poisoning by deadly ideology, so far from the strength of our original biblical Judeo-Christian values, and drowning by a tsunami of its dark outgrowth. This is where we find ourselves, in what appears to be the last stages. Shallow breathing and possible signs of a death rattle is near. Meanwhile, the tide of darkness seems to be rising. Make no mistake, the forces of darkness are not out to merely change America and make her over by implementing their own progressive agenda. They want America...
Wow, their own progressive agenda, thus showing that the left is trying to destroy America. How fucking hyperbolic is this shit? This is wild, dude. Let me know if you think I should come back to this, because it's actually fascinating to me. All right, I got to get out of here. I appreciate you hanging out with me. It's been fun. I have to go put my cat down. So I will talk to you guys on Sunday, okay?